Just a couple of guys, a couple of microphones, and a heck of a lot of know. It's Football on the Know with Jim and Joe.
What they say, it's not the X's and the O's, it's the Jimmies and the Joes.
All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Football on the Know. I am Jim McPhee, and alongside of me is Mr. Joe DeCapita.
What's going on, Autos? Welcome back for another edition of Football on the Know Show. We are ready to go. We're going to be talking about the AFC and NFC South divisions.
Division, that's right.
Yeah, a little bit of a change here. So we're going to do our early predictions like we normally do every year. Now we're on to the AFC and NFC South. Listen, could you do me a favor? If you're new to the show, if you know somebody that would be interested in our show, listen, we cover all 32 teams. We are the most interactive football talk show that you'll ever see. Do me a favor. Head over to YouTube and search us up, Football on the Know Show. Hit the subscribe button. Hit the notification bell to let you guys know when we go live. Also, you can follow us on Facebook. If you don't prefer YouTube, you can also follow us. Become a member. Become an Auto on Facebook. And welcome. Welcome aboard. Let's go.
Absolutely. Yeah, we're super excited. I can't wait. The season is among us. We have one more preseason weekend, Joe.
One more. I think Friday night. I think Friday night is the last preseason games for all of them.
So
and then
it's
cut down. Yeah, it's big time cut down day next week.
Cut down day, so you get to see who's on what. And a lot of injuries so far. Again, still, Joe.
As usual.
That's the story for the whole offseason. My team, the Giants, they're just riddled with injuries nonstop too, and you're seeing it all over the NFL. So it's crazy. Yeah. It's going to be a different start of the season again, because when are some of these players going to be able to return to the teams? Will they be able to make it by week 1 or not? So it's week 3, 4 sometimes. And we also part of the news we've heard was the Deshaun Watson thing had finally got settled. So that's down to 11 games. So that's a whole other can of worms that a lot of people have talked about.
6 to 11.
Yeah, 6 to 11. It's gone to that.
Oh, we
now,
turn it up to 11.
Yeah,
yes.
So there we
Not
go.
10, 11.
Yeah. So, tonight we're gonna do some more different things. We've been looking at a few different articles and things that some of these other news broadcasts and websites have put out there, and the big news in college football is the NCAA and college football now has decided to take a look at their targeting rules and some other things as far as faking injuries and stuff in the college game. Now they're putting that under a finer scope right now, and they made some changes here. So now some of these guys that have been known for putting these big hits and stuff like that out there might be wanting to take a second to think about it first. Speaking of all, though, I want to take a second to thank Nathaniel McWhirt's in the house with us tonight.
What's going on, Nathaniel? What's up, buddy? Hold on, we'll get there eventually.
I had to change my windows. Man, I gotta get everything on the same.
Get it
window.
together right now. All
right.
right,
Nathaniel, it's been a long time since I've seen you, buddy. I was just thinking about you. I was like, I saw you post on, I think it was a Football World, and I was like, oh man, Nathaniel, man, it's got to be start of the season. He's gonna be coming around. So there he is. I think the Colts, he said, will win the AFC South. I am undecided for the NFC South. I tell you, the NFC South could be very interesting.
Interesting, for sure.
Because I'm even hearing now, again, this is the internet, so it could be false. But you are hearing that the real problems with Tom Brady not coming back to camp is really serious personal problems with his marriage and things like that. So if it comes down to it where it's that big of a stress and he's got to get pulled away and said, listen, you were home for 40 days. You decided to kind of go back. You're trying it out and stuff, but really, I'm kind of sick of it now. I'm done. I've sacrificed it so long. I'm really done now. And I don't care if you can go back to your team now or not. I really don't care.
You know what's really
which
fun?
is it?
Yeah.
Because also I heard they're facing issues because they're building that new house down there too. So construction has been delayed and all kinds of problems. So that's even more stress. So when you got stress from money, all that other things going wrong.
I don't think money's a problem.
Well, just stuff like that. Having to put it into that and just what I'm saying.
It's just the planning portion.
Planning of all that stuff. It's not going the way you want it. Plus, he's away doing the season, so she's probably talking to contractors nonstop while trying to get the kids ready for school. So. Imagine now if all of a sudden Tom Brady's like, I can't come back.
I'm retired.
You guys are.
Again.
I'm done.
It'll be the first time ever
Wow.
that's happened where a player announces his retirement, then decides to come back like 2 months later, and then retires before the season. That'd be unprecedented. But here's the crazy thing: is like we were just talking about this last night when we were doing prep for the show, and we kind of had this discussion about what if it is more about very personal, where it could be family oriented, where Tom Brady had to leave because he needs to smooth things out with his wife, and the family and all that, and take care of business that way. Or there's another option where I know it's completely sad and everything, but like if there was a death in the family thing or something. But so far we haven't heard any inkling of that being the case. What has been more abundant than anything is that silence has happened. Like there is no new details about Tom Brady and his family or his, absence at camp and what have you. And here's the crazy thing is Tom Brady as a player, as a person, even in New England, his whole, for most of his career in New England, long career that he's had and very successful. He's always been a person of diligence. He demands perfection. He himself demands it out of himself, where he does not miss practice willingly. He doesn't, if he can't help it, he'll be there no matter what and run laps around you in terms of throwing. You know what I mean? So it's very uncanny for Brady not to be with Tampa Bay Buccaneers right now. And this is definitely, one of those situations where it's like, this is not going unnoticed, and everybody is starting to, fumble around and try to figure out what's the latest details on what's really happening with Tampa Bay and Tom Brady. And a lot of people, nobody knows. Nobody knows, and it's very weird because this doesn't normally happen with Tom. And now we're experiencing something completely different that we never have seen from Tom Brady, him to be able to leave in the middle of camp for quite some time still. So it's like that doesn't go unnoticed, and people now are starting to guess on why he's taking such a long hiatus and why exactly is he still gone at this point, because you got one more preseason game to go Friday night. And after that point, if he isn't still there leading into week one for game prep, for game planning, because that's a huge thing. For him to come cold turkey off of the extended amount of time he's taken off, to come in and then all of a sudden now you got to implement a game plan for the opponent for that week, and boom, now it's for real. Now you got to play. So it's going to be really curious to see where this all ends.
Oh, absolutely, because even Nathaniel McWorth says here, he says, I'm very concerned about the offensive line. It seems like every time the Bucs move a muscle, someone goes down or hurt. And that's the thing. He is a veteran, and he knows what he's doing. And a lot of those guys even deserve some time off here and there. But with it being this close,
it's too long
to the season start, I've never seen something like this before. And the fact that Nathaniel's bringing up, that offensive line, you've got some other guys in there because of injuries. You know what I mean? You lost Jensen right away. You know what I mean? So that's your rock right there. So with an offensive that's weak like that, you kind of need your quarterback there that's working with you. That's going to be the guy there to help support you guys.
You bring up Ryan Jensen. I have to say this. Here's the interesting thing about all this. Ryan Jensen was a free agent, and Tom Brady was retired. Tom Brady called Ryan Jensen to come back to Tampa because he had a deal on the table. I forgot the franchise that had a deal, and he was pretty much going to sign and be done. He was going to leave Tampa. And Tom Brady calls him and says, hey, I need you back for one more. If you're my center, I need you back for one more year with me, and that's all I'm asking. And I'll come back out of retirement. That happened because of Tom. He reached out to Ryan. Ryan Jensen changed his mind, did not sign the deal, went back to Tampa, signed a new deal, and here comes Tom Brady back. Now with Ryan Jensen out for the year and a promising backup being severely hurt as well, now they're down to their third string center for the year. I'm sorry, that's your quarterback of your offensive line. And if you don't have a guy up to par with Tom Brady in the backfield, it could end up being pretty messy on the front. And now with Tom taking time away, it's utter chaos now in Tampa. Nobody really knows the direction now. Before, it was all clear and concise. If they had Jensen, if they had Tom all there, and the whole gang was there was no question that team probably was going to run away with the division.
Right.
But now with guys missing, like the centers, both centers done. Now you're down to your third string. Tom is missing. What's happening?
Yeah, absolutely. And again, with the years that he has won with New England and things like that, having strong offensive lines.
Right.
When they've been weak, not so good out
Not
there.
so
Again,
good at
and he's
all.
not very mobile already. And then being how old he is, too, as well, the escapability narrows. We saw what happened with Patrick Mahomes when he didn't have – well, I know, exactly. And so we saw what happened with Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl when he didn't have an offensive line and how bad he looked. So then you look at Tom Brady without it, again, it could be really bad over there.
But the key thing is the centers. That whenever Brady hasn't had a true center in front of him, that's where he struggled, because when you allow pressure to come up the middle, that's how you attack Brady.
That's how
you attack right up the middle at him, get right in his face, make him move off the spot. And if you can do that, you affect him. So and that's what every defense is going to try to do from now on when week one starts.
Yeah, I don't know. There's J.C. Treader out there, I think, still, too. They should give him
I got an interesting story about him, too.
All right. You want to get into it? Let's get into it before we get
here's
there.
the thing.
What people want to talk about. Let's do it.
There's a lot of rumors going around about J.C. Treader and the reason why he's still a free agent. In NFL league circles, there is this story going around about he has some very peculiar political views, and because he's always fighting for players' safety, and I know this kind of sounds funny, Joel Patonio, an ex-teammate of his, has stated this and said that because of his certain political views that he has and his stance on player safety, a lot of teams tend to shying away from even signing him, even though he's still a very, very good prime candidate to replace anybody at center. A veteran center that can come in, be your quarterback of the offensive line, and lock it down. J.C. Treader, talent-wise, is just about as good as anybody right now. But the fact that some of these are rumors. We don't know if they're 100% sure. However, it makes you think, because he's been out there forever. You know what I mean? Since week one of the free agency commenced, he's still a free agent. He hasn't taken any visits. He hasn't had, to our knowledge, hasn't had any negotiations for a contract with anybody. And there's center needy teams. We're talking about one right now, Tampa.
Yeah.
Maybe that's a move that they make now. And on top of that, you look at the Giants. The Giants need one of those, ironclad type of centers to come in and balance this line out. And there's many more teams other than them. So it makes you think if that may or may not be true at this point, because he's been out there for so long. And there's other prime candidates. We've
seen that before, where people wanted to shy away from guys before because of certain political views or other things about
or
that.
attitudes or work ethic. It's crazy.
All right, so thanks a lot for Nathaniel out there for the comments. We love
Thanks
it. Anybody else have any other comments out there? Let us know if there's something else you guys want to talk about too.
Yeah, drop them down below. Listen, it doesn't have to be a topic that we're talking about. It could be about something that you guys want to bring up to talk about. We're here for you.
Absolutely. But Joe, he found out the rule changes here now with college football, so we're going to kind of take a look at what they're changing this season and tell us what we think about it. You tell us what you think. Let's go, Joe. What do we got here?
All right, so first on the docket today, we have players ejected in the second halves of games for targeting may not be suspended for the first half of the next game, depending on the results of an appeal. So if your boy targets the hell out of a quarterback, right? Gets ejected in the second half of a game. That does not mean that he'll be ejected or held out of the game the following week's game in the first half for targeting. But it does depend on an appeal. So it could be more severe of a penalty or a charge, you know what I mean? Or it could be lessened, you know what I mean? So basically what they're getting at is your player isn't going to be taken out of the 4 quarters of the game, basically. You know what I mean? Leading up to the next game. So maybe suspended for that second half. And here's the interesting thing too: is okay, what if he gets ejected the end of the fourth quarter? I would assume that means he is held out of next week's first half of the game, because that would be the difference, right? If you get relatively early in the second half.
If you want to just say time, or just say it's about a certain amount of quarters, not just a game, just that game.
Yes.
Okay.
So it's about halves.
Okay.
So
all right.
In the second half of the game, which would be your third and fourth quarter, say if you get ejected in the third quarter. Now, that from what the new rule is implying, that means that your player will not be held out of next week's game in the first half. So, but it's based off results of an appeal. Some people might be able, very rarely, but might be able to win that appeal. And if they do so, their player continues to play no fault. Next on the docket, what do you think about that before I go?
I understand player safety, what they're doing and stuff. I mean, I'm down with it, whatever. If it works. Again, I just don't want it to be, any, whatever they consider targeting. If all of a sudden...
targeting's targeting.
Well, I know, but a lot of times they'll throw it for things that are close, that just like a good hit. They're like, something. So.
That's in the NFL.
So, I mean, again, college has been a little easier for that stuff.
And they review those plays.
Yeah.
They review them, so they can try to... It doesn't. They're not always right. All the referees are still human, but at least they're trying or willing to take a look at a very hard hit or something that would happen so quick to try to get the right call.
Yeah. Yep.
Number 2 on the docket, we got schools and conferences can report the potential faking of injuries to the national coordinator of officials, which could lead to penalties for the school involved. So this was an issue that was brought up last year where some players were faking injuries in games. They really ended up not being hurt. They didn't, weren't any of extended time. Guys were like, if there was like a drive that an offense was having and they were winning by a touchdown or something, that team was winning by a touchdown, and they're like worried, they're driving on us. Quick, pretend your ankle's hurt. You know what I mean? They would like try to stall the drive that way to try to mess up chemistry and the timing and everything. So now they're doing away with that. Like now other teams can report teams if they believe that they're faking injuries. And then there will be an investigation, obviously, into is that player still practicing? Was that player put back in the game right away? Like there's going to be... Which is going to be interesting. This is probably one of the tougher rules to enforce.
Yeah, I was going to say, how are you going to figure that out? I mean, it's kind of like... Injury's
an injury, but if you know... And here's the thing, is like, there's going to be a lot of acting involved.
Yeah.
My ankle. You kind of got to
bring
limp
him over
off.
to the tent right away, and you have the physician look at him and stuff, but it's your team physician probably, too. I mean, or else, like, what is it going to be? A different appointed physician by, college football or
you would think,
officials,
listen, because like the reports are going to go to the national coordinator of officials, and then after that point, then it's an investigation.
Yeah, Nathaniel brings up a point. He says, what would happen if the targeting play happens in the last 2 minutes?
Yeah, we just spoke about that. We gave that example that if the last 2 minutes of the fourth quarter happen and targeting happens, then you can expect a first half suspension, basically.
Yeah.
First half suspension for the following week's game.
Yeah. And
you know what? It's simple.
College football has done that before.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, it's not like I don't think the NFL has done anything like that. Like
no.
Suspended for the first
but
half of a game. But college has done that for a lot of different things. So like, your first half you don't have, you can't play, and then all of a sudden you can.
College is different. NFL has their own different ways.
So I guess that what it would be. I guess.
Yeah, it makes all the sense, unless they really throw a curveball at us and be like,
the faking injury. Like I don't know how you're going to prove all that. I don't know about that. Whatever they could do. I mean, every coach is going to complain about it too. It's like, that guy's obviously not hurt. He's just laying there. But
here's the thing.
Then you even feel like a douche, I guess, if you call it on there and guys really hurt.
But here's the thing: is if it's deemed that it was a fake injury, because it will happen, and it only takes. Listen, say a guy bums his ankle. Yeah. Comes out in the third quarter, middle of the third quarter, team's driving, whatever, or even second quarter before the half, and. We goofed up their timing. Now they're not in the row. It's kind of lame. Like to try to, you're basically trying to stunt their rhythm. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
or their
but
drive.
it's like one of those old tricks where you kind of get away with
sometimes
it.
It works.
Just to make it work.
But even if that happens, he comes off the field. Now, if he comes in the very next play, something's up. There's going to be an investigation. How come he wasn't? If his ankle was hurting that bad, we saw him limping off the field. Now he's out there playing, and now. Next week comes leading up to the game. They're going to be paying attention to practices. They're going to be paying attention to, is this guy that so-called was injured? Is he still practicing now? Is he resting? So There's ways to figure out if they're really faking, and it's not going to be a quick decision. I think this is going to be like a literal investigation that week.
Well, and then maybe even they do it so that if a guy does that, he doesn't sit out a play. He's got to sit out for a whole series or something.
No,
like
a game.
That, or whatever ends up being. Yeah.
No, you got to sit out a game because it's penalties for the school involved. That's what's interesting about the wording is penalties for the school involved, not the player.
They could probably just go after him after the fact and maybe fine them or something like that.
Yeah, but who cares about a fine? Like they got.
I don't know. Who knows? In college football, again, it's all different, too. They're going to vacate some wins, too, or something. It's stupid.
It's funny. I don't know.
Okay, what else?
At least we're trying, right? Number 3, we got only linemen and stationary backs inside the tackle box can block below the waist. And this is where the most critical,
like that. That's
critical things happen is inside the tackle box.
Yeah.
So you mean to tell me that
ankle injuries happen?
Yeah, you mean to tell me that guards, centers, running backs, fullbacks, they can just take your legs out.
Cut people down.
This is how a lot of players were getting injured. Their knees were getting blown out, their ankles, all kinds of crazy stuff like that. Now you're telling me that you're allowing it just not outside the tackle box. So receivers can't come over and do it. Tight ends can't come over and do it or line up and do it. But don't you want to get away from this?
Some of these guys aren't exactly pass rushers, so they're not coming at them fast and trying to chop them down. So they figure it's just kind of bring them down. I don't know.
This is going to lead to more injuries.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I think we're seeing it all across the board, and I think so.
But this is the reason why the NFL got rid of this. Yeah, they got rid of chop blocks. You know what I mean? So wow,
I don't know.
It's aggressive.
Yeah.
Number 4, we got.
I don't think I like any of these really.
So far, Jim does not like any of them. Ball carriers who simulate a feet-first slide.
I don't like this one either.
Like then, Pittsburgh quarterback Kenny Pickett famously did in the ACC championship game, will be ruled down at the spot. I think this is a good rule. I think this is a rule that, and we've kind of debated about this last time it happened when Kenny Pickett actually did it. Here's the thing is you're handcuffing these defensive players nonstop about, you can't hold, you can't tug, you can't push, you can't shove, you can't do anything, but you got to be able to run with a guy. So now it's getting to the point where so Kenny Pickett saw that as an opportunity and said, okay, I'll fake slide and then pop up and keep running. Because all the defensemen are going to stop because, listen, why? Because the quarterback is being protected. So as soon as he goes to give himself up, that's deemed as a dead play. You can't touch the quarterback then. So that's why this is enforced is because you can't fake slide and then you got the D coordinators yelling at the defensive players. Why didn't you hit him? Because that would have been a penalty too. Because it's already seen as a slide. That's why defensive players give up on the play. And then if you were allowed to just pop up like Kenny did and take off, it's craziness. It's absolutely ludicrous for that to happen.
I don't know.
So
for
that's
that
why
play
the rules
too,
in
that
place.
play, we'll probably always disagree on that one, but
I don't know how you can.
I just think if he did, obviously it was a kind of a move to kind of simulate that, but it was more like a dip to me. He kind of dipped and went going. So it kind of
but
made
that's
the
why the
illusion
player
like he
stopped.
was going to do. Yeah, but you didn't have to. Again.
Yeah, but it could have been a flag either way then.
It could have.
That's the problem.
Who knows, though? But that's
it's so clear and concise.
I think that was just a great move that he did. It's just like any other kind of juke. You're going to fake somebody thinking I'm going left, but I go right.
It's not a
juke.
juke.
Fake a move. Again, just a dip. It's a dip. Didn't even look like you didn't know if he was going to slide or not. They called it a fake slide kind of move and gave him the credit for that.
Because his feet were first.
Dipping.
That's why.
I thought it was a great move, and that it was totally fair. The fact that they have to make another
Maybe
rule about it that you can't, I think it's just stupid.
Maybe in flag.
But anyways,
flag it works.
But as far as it being
games.
down where they initially do that, okay, sure. But I don't think that was the first time we ever saw this happen.
Yes.
I don't think any other people have really tried to attempt it.
No.
They might have. But now that this rule is in effect, I don't think you're ever going to see it again, really, because it's a kind of a dumb rule that's not even going to be.
No, it's not a dumb rule at all.
Well, I'm just saying it's not going to affect anybody else because nobody has ever tried to do it before. So I don't think
not anymore. They would have though. That's probably why they're putting this rule in.
All right,
because it is assimilating a slide, and when you don't, and the defensive players stop, everybody stopped because they thought he was sliding. So they know if they continued to go and hit him, most likely that would have been a personal foul penalty anyway. because it looks like he was going to attempt to slide.
I just think the game's a game of disguises, so you disguise
Flag,
something, you're
yes.
fine.
You're right about flag.
Well, defenses disguise a blitz, and then they don't blitz.
But that's the problem, though. When you're attempting to slide, everybody has to stop. You cannot touch him. He's giving himself up. So that's why when Kenny Pickett did it, he was assimilating of giving himself up. That's why everybody stopped. And then when he popped up and started running, it's a miraculous play. But the defense, you're handcuffing them. Now they don't know whether they can go and hit him or they have to stand up and stay. Because even if let's rewind that play, and if he was going to assimilate a slide and potentially give him up, and a linebacker came and just absolutely annihilated him, I guarantee you that a flag would have been thrown against that defense, because they would have been like, oh, well, he was going down as a slide and you took his head off. And now that player, maybe that's viewed as targeting in college, and that player's kicked out for a guy that was assimilating a slide. That's why
but you just talk about the guy annihilating him, though, too, as well. If he happened to touch him, and then maybe there was a flag call, but there wasn't or not. And
but that's what I'm saying, because he's giving himself up.
Yeah, but you just said even the opposite. That it happened that he did go down and the guy blows him up, that's obviously a penalty.
Because he's assimilating a slide. That's what I'm saying. So if the defenseman hit him as he's assimilating a slide, even though he's probably not going to go all the way
even
down,
if you look at the play, the guy's not set
that's
to do
going
that
to be a
too.
flag. So now not only is the defense handcuffed, because if everybody now is going to start attempting this, now the defenses don't know what to do. So now when they do hit him, it's going to be deemed as, I was attempting to slide. No, you weren't. You know that you were going to fake it, and now the defense is getting penalized regardless, no matter what happens. So I mean, I think this is a good thing for college football. If you want to, if you want to talk about the slide
that's close to that
and flag,
I would say
that
if
makes
you're going
sense.
to do that, if you're going to do something like that, then I think something that's similar to the NFL, quarterbacks running to the sidelines and kind of slowing like they're going to go out of bounds. So then guys pull up and stop, because they don't want to hit them because you get close to the sideline, and then they turn up and go.
Yeah.
And then I think there maybe should be take a look at throwing a penalty for that then on quarterbacks.
I think what should happen then is, because the quarterback is now viewed as a runner. If you're running up the sideline and a guy comes and hits you, but even if you take a step out the last second and you still get hit, no call. No call. No, you deserve to be hit, because now you're running up the sideline.
Yeah, but I'm talking about even too. If you're running, like say you're bootlegged out and you're running to the side, doesn't look like anybody's open. You kind of slow down like you're going to go, so then the defender stops.
Yes, I know.
But then you go. But yeah, then after that, once you initiate, like you're saying, maybe then now you're a runner, then you're able to get.
I'm saying
that in that moment, that defender is like pulling back, because he's like, well, that guy's obviously going to go out, but then they turn up
because the quarterbacks are so protected. That guys
should be a penalty.
Guys aren't allowed to hit them. I say let them hit them. Even if he takes a step, because Patrick Mahomes does this. He's one of the best to do
that's
it.
what I was thinking about it.
So he runs to the sidelines and he'll turn up field. He won't hesitate. He'll turn up field, and then once he sees a guy closing in on him, he steps out of bounds, because he knows as soon as I step out and this guy hits me, it's going to be a penalty against him. So that's the problem. I think players should not be handicapped for hitting the quarterback. And that's where the NFL has gotten to. The NFL has gotten to so badly of protecting the quarterback all around him that you can't hit below the legs. You can't hit his head. You got to hit between the numbers, but you can't use your helmet to hit him. You got to use your shoulder. So there's so many limitations for defensive players to not hit the quarterback a certain way that it leads football players to hesitate at times, when I think they should just be allowed to go get that quarterback. Even if he's on the sideline, even if he takes a step out, because if you take a step out the last second, you should still be allowed to get hit. It's that quick of a game. Stop fucking holding damn handcuffed on the defensive players.
Oh, man.
Ridiculous.
All right. So, what do you guys think about that? Let us know in the comments.
Talking about
Obviously,
defense.
Like I say, we can get into this.
Talking about defense right now.
But anyways, all right. So now what's the next couple rules after this?
Talking about defense. Defensive holding is an automatic first down in addition to a 10-yard penalty. This is crazy because holding, now this could be viewed on the D-line or the corners or the defensive backs. In college, they're more apt to hold. You know, a lot of college coaches like to see that physicality, like to get right into the receiver and tug and a little bit within 5 yards, But then without 5 yards, now you're not allowed to freaking grab them at all. Defensive linemen, they do a little trick where they start to rush. They grab the opposite offensive lineman's jersey, tug it towards them while they're engaging with another lineman to try to open up a gap for their buddy to run through. So now, if the refs see this, now not only is it an automatic first down, like it could be like 3rd and 3 or something like that. You know what I mean? And now all of a sudden, it's not only a 10-yard penalty, but it's an automatic first down. I mean, that's a steep penalty for holding, for defensive holding. I think this is, and I know in college football, the referees, listen, they're not perfect, but I'll tell you right now, some of those crews are way better than what the NFL has. It seems like they kind of let the players play a little bit more than the NFL does, but this could be a problem, though. Just like some of the other penalties that are being brought up for this year, this could be a problem because now any kind of defensive holding, imagine that, like a receiver going, and this could be a good thing in a way for defensive players deep down the field where a guy breaks, boom, 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 does a post corner on a guy. Oh, he's going to get open. He's going to score a touchdown. I'm just going to yank it back of his jersey. And just, okay, now we're only going to give up 10 yards and an automatic first down. Yeah. So, I mean, this could go both ways, but it also, I'm nervous whenever penalties like this are enforced because this also could mean, like, got a lot of yellow flag laundry to do.
Yeah, probably. And again, you got some of those guys that were grabbers before that are now in the NFL has to learn to try and do less of that, so now they're kind of trying to train them, I think, early on in the college game to try and do this and not be so handsy here. But again,
it's kind of a double-edged sword for me
too, because again, I don't think it's a thing that they're looking to try and get higher scores and stuff either, like a lot of people claim with the NFL and stuff, because you already got a lot of that in the
tons of offensive scoring
in the college game. So I'm not sure, but again, we've seen it already before, so we'll see how it goes.
This is a problem for me only because I worry about the physicality of the game. Like, that's part of the game. Yep. So sometimes it happens. Now, if it affects the route of a player where you're kind of deviating from the route that he's trying to run, I'm all for calling the penalty. But if it's just like kind of a little bit of hand fighting, a little tugging, both players are doing it, because receivers do it too. They kind of like grab the defensive back's jersey and kind of tug and push a little bit as well when they're hand fighting. So I kind of worry about too much of an advantage for the offense versus defense.
I hear you.
Next one we got. Replay officials can adjust the clock if a ruling is overturned with less than 2 minutes remaining in the game or first half. Okay. I mean, that's not bad, right? I mean, it makes sense.
They can move the clock for what?
Replay officials can adjust the clock if a ruling is overturned with less than 2 minutes remaining in the game or first half.
Oh, with less than 2 minutes remaining. Yeah. That's
makes
fine.
sense.
That's what you want.
Because you want it to go back.
Yeah. That's what they usually do, I think.
Well,
I don't know
the
about
NFL.
the NFL does, but yeah, if college didn't do that before, I mean, that's a clear thing.
That makes sense. So I'm good.
That's fine.
I'm good with that.
And
last but not least, illegal touching by an ineligible player is a loss of down in addition to the 5-yard penalty.
The illegal touching again.
Illegal touching by an ineligible player. So you got guys on the sideline. Sometimes they crowd that sideline. Maybe the guy, I don't know, kind of gives him a little shoulder as he's running down the sideline or something.
Right?
Yeah, kind of like that. Kind of like that. Now it's a law. It's you get a loss of down in addition to a 5-yard penalty. So it is what it is now in college, right? They made some changes.
Kind of sad too that they do like a rule like that. I'm like touching, but listen, some people do it again just to whatever if they think they could sneak by you and do it.
And you know what? If you ask Bill Belichick, if you're not cheating, you're not trying. So I guess this one of those probably a bigger deal than people realized, and that's why they're putting this in as a rule.
Interesting. So that was it. That was the new rule changes.
That's the rule. All right. New rule changes, everyone.
Okay. All right. A lot of it for safety. Some of it for, again, it seems like they're mimicking off of what the NFL already does, so they're trying to prepare these kids for the NFL. So I think they all generally kind of make sense, but again, some others I don't really agree with. I don't think they really need them, but all right, yeah. So that's fine. We have also another thing we're going to run through in just a second here. Bleacher Report, they put out a thing that is one trade that each team needs to make in the 2022 season. So we were going to take a look at this and kind of look over the trades quick that they propose and kind of see if we see that happening, or if we like it, give it a thumbs up or a thumbs down on what we think might happen, or even if that player probably will see a different home or whatever throughout the season, whether it be that specific trade or not.
If it's more likely or not.
Yeah, absolutely. But first, I'm going to tell you guys about my friends at Colorize. All right, Colorize.
Ooh, color me bad.
Not only, Colorize with 3 locations up here in upstate New York, at Clifton Park, Niskayuna, and Queensbury. Plus, they're opening a new one in Troy pretty soon. They're not only your Benjamin Moore, what is that? I want to say, wow, not only Benjamin Moore dealer, I guess it is. Yes. They're dealer. They deal that Benjamin Moore. But they're being an independent dealer. They also have access to everything, though, too. These guys are awesome. I love it. I go there. I go to the Niskayuna store. I talk to Brett all the time. He's my guy. But they serve everyone from the professional to do-it-yourselfer. You got projects you want to do at the home, too. They'll point you in the right direction. Colorize. The right paint, right color, and the advice by a local professional. Check them out at mycolorize.com or go to any one of those stores here.
For your paint needs.
Yeah.
All of them.
Man, that was tough putting that one out. I don't know why I stumbled and
That's all right. That's all right.
Sometimes
We've all been there. We've all been
Absolutely.
there. By the way, if you're new to the show, whatever, make sure you do us a favor. Listen, you can get us also anywhere you get your podcasts. Anywhere. Spotify, iTunes, you name it, we're there. Make sure you give us a follow along. And if you want to be more interactive, because let's just face it, we're the best damn interactive football talk show there is. Head over to YouTube, hit the subscribe button, subscribe. Hit the notification bell, let you guys know when we go live. Search us up, Football on the No Show. Also, you can go to Facebook, become a member, become a know-it-all.
Yeah, everybody likes to watch the live show, though, just because we're so good-looking, though, too, Joe.
I think is that what it is?
I think so.
No, she didn't agree.
She didn't agree. No, absolutely. But here we go. Bleacher Report. They do one trade that each team needs to do in 2022. So we're going to go through 32 teams. We're going to make it pretty quick, though, here for you guys.
Excellent.
So we can move it right along. The first trade that they propose is for the Arizona Cardinals, that they trade away wide receiver Andy Isabella to the Seattle Seahawks. I can totally see the Seahawks jumping aboard with this because, hey, they could use some more wide receivers here to match up with DK and Tyler Lockett there. Mm-hmm. And that could only help somebody like Drew Lock or,
Geno Smith.
But Geno Smith is so far is going to get the starting job this week, though.
Which isn't a good sign.
But I know, because
usually if you're playing,
chance to go,
it means you might have lost your job.
Yeah, who knows? So it's up and down, whoever that might be. But that sounds good for them. But
gotcha.
Andy Isabella not really utilized for the Arizona Cardinals at all right now either. So could you see him being moved or possibly even cut by this team? Or
I mean, this trade scenario makes a lot of sense for Andy Isabella because you look at this team, they've added more receiving depth. You know what I mean? They drafted Rondell Moore, who's going to come into his own this year, going to be a starter or at least a very heavy rotational player. That kind of puts out Andy Isabella as an option. And with, DeAndre Hopkins serving a suspension, but then is going to end up coming back. You got Hollywood Brown now, AJ Green still in the building. I mean, there's a lot of more guys to throw to. And Andy Isabella, although he's still young, I still think he has a ton of talent for somebody that's willing to give him a shot. Still hasn't had that legitimate chance. It makes sense. So with that being said, I think more than likely he's either going to be traded or released when it comes to big-time cut day. Because if they can't find a trade partner, most likely they're going to move on from him to save roster spots. So Andy Isabella, I'm a huge fan of him. Do I see him going to Seattle? Yeah, that's a likely target. And this guy is more seen as a slot guy, but he could end up being possibly a number 2 for somebody, given the chance. So there's going to be plenty of other teams that need receivers because everyone's making cuts. You know what I mean? So you're going to see a lot of teams kind of scouring the waiver wire, so to speak, and kind of pounce on certain players that they need more help with.
All right, next up we've got the Atlanta Falcons. Deion Jones to the New England Patriots, Joe. What do you think about that one?
Ooh, this is an interesting one because Deion Jones makes some pretty hefty change there for Atlanta Falcons. And he is starting to get a little bit older, a little bit long in the tooth for them. It might be time that Atlanta kind of experiences maybe moving on from the veteran and gaining some draft capital for the following draft. And it could happen. I mean, I'm not putting it out of realm of possibility. Again, this is another situation where it could be where maybe they're holding out for a serious team to come and trade for him. You're not going to get a ton in draft capital, even though he's still a really good player. I feel like it might be middle to late rounds as well because a lot of these guys, a lot of these teams already know that most likely he may be cut if not traded.
Right, and that's the thing. They've looked at options for trades and haven't really got a whole lot there, so they've been comfortable with sitting on them. But again, when it comes down to it, and then the Patriots too, what they really need on this defense too is just another guy there. Deion Jones, I think, is a really nice set for them. I mean, it seems like the Patriot way.
The Patriots they've drafted linebackers that they really like right now, so it could be a veteran move for the Patriots. But also, I could really easily see them just not bother with it because they like the young guys that they have in place.
I tell you what, too. Which with maybe injuries that happen with the Dallas Cowboys, how about Deion Jones now going even over there?
It's a Jerry Jones move. I mean, it's something he likes, big names. He likes to add them to and acquire them on his roster. So it's not out of the realm of possibility. Anybody that is in need of a starting caliber or at least a guy that can come in and be a solid competitor for you, he's the guy.
All right, Nathaniel. Nathaniel says, I don't see the Cardinals making playoffs, to be honest. Ooh,
interesting.
Yeah. And some people have agreed with some of that. You know what I mean? A lot of people have agreed with that move.
Okay.
So we'll see, though.
I'll talk about them when it comes time.
What happens, too, is because of that. I think that thing that happened with Kyler Murray. So, I mean, again, about him not practicing, that whole thing. A lot of people brought up that whole thing, too. And maybe they saw how they performed late in the season last year where they started off red hot and then, got to the playoff time and they just fizzled out and didn't look very good. But here we go. Next for the third one, we've got the Baltimore Ravens. Offensive guard Ben Powers to the Minnesota Vikings, Joe.
And we've already seen a couple of offensive lineman trades happen this week. You look at Cody Ford from Buffalo Bills. He got traded to the Cardinals. So more than likely, maybe they're beefing up their O-line with Cody Ford, even though it didn't pan out for him in Buffalo. Who knows? Maybe he makes it out in Arizona. So you're seeing a couple of trades like that. And even the Patriots have put Isaiah Wynn, the former first-round pick, on the trade block. Looks like the Patriots have kind of lost faith in him staying healthy maybe. And this being his last year under contract, you got to wonder if, maybe that's what they're saying. Like, hey, you know what? He hasn't stayed healthy yet, and we don't know if he's going to stay healthy this year, being his last year. Let's move on from him. Let's get some draft capital. So that's another move that could potentially happen very soon. And for the guard Ben Powers to the Minnesota Vikings, yeah, I would say it could happen. I mean, so far, all of these suggestions are very potential-like. But then again, would the Ravens view that as, losing depth or losing a player that they might need later down the season? Listen, we've already seen a lot of injuries happen. We see it every single year. So I would recommend that the Ravens kind of hold on to him if they can.
All right, talk about the Ravens here along with the Buffalo Bills. It says Bills trading wide receiver Jamison Crowder to the Baltimore Ravens.
And re-signing Cole Beasley. Oh! But, they just signed Jamison Crowder, very consummate professional, guy who has done amazing things for the Jets. Yes, I said for the Jets. He was basically the only go-to guy they had. But nonetheless, I feel like he fills a nice niche for the Buffalo Bills this year. So in order for them to move on from him, I kind of wonder what's the next move then. Who are you? And what I'm hearing from Buffalo through their training camp is Isaiah McKenzie, who they signed, a speedster of a receiver. They're really loving the work that he's putting into this team, and he looks like he might take this slot job over and be that starter for them. So if that's the case, that's why this makes a lot of sense. Crowder, yes, he's a veteran, whatever, but now who knows? Maybe they can do a deal. It's not likely because teams are probably expecting him, they're just going to cut him.
Yeah. Who knows? Again, a veteran, somebody could definitely use him on their squad. Somebody that also like the Baltimore Ravens, who seem kind of like they need just that little extra too as well. that seems like a good fit for me right there. I mean, because you, like you said too, you're hearing around here, even New York, upstate New York, Buffalo area, about Isaiah McKenzie too as well. Gabe Davis performing well in the early on too in the preseason with Josh Allen too. So I mean, they've got what they got. They're all set up. I think.
And that's the funny thing too, is that there's also a rumor like, oh, Von Miller's pulling in Odell Beckham. Odell's might be coming to Buffalo. Possibility, but they don't have a lot of cap space either. So
really friendly.
It's got to be real team friendly.
There you go. All right, next up we got the Carolina Panthers. Sam Darnold to the Seattle Seahawks. How loaded would that backfield be if all of a sudden, or that quarterback room rather be
crowded a little bit?
A little crowded, you think?
All these former starters, you know what I mean? Like Geno Smith used to start like when he got drafted by the Jets, and then he's been a journeyman backup since.
Yeah,
Drew Lock with the Broncos. Gets traded to them.
Geno Smith and then Sam Darnold.
And then if they were to pull, I think it makes sense. It does because listen, after this year, there's no guarantee if either of those guys are going to be staying. Drew Lock maybe because they just pulled off a trade for him.
Yeah,
but maybe in a backup role, if they were to pull off a trade and get Sam Darnold, now he would most likely be the clear-cut favorite to be the starter, but not right away because he still needs to learn the playbook and so forth and get chemistry. But that would be a good move for Seattle.
I mean, it seems like a real Pete Carroll type of move. Like, it feels like he's into this kid, really thinks he could still perform. Kind of got dogged in the Panthers organization. Didn't really get a chance, you know what I mean? So bring him in again. Let's see what this kid's got, you know? I mean, because you already know, you got Geno Smith back there just because he already knew what was going on. Yeah. So he's still kind of expendable. You don't really need him so much. You just brought him back because he was familiar with everything.
Well, we've also seen him last season.
That's after you didn't have a Russell Wilson anymore. So to bring in like a Sam Darnold, again, you want to stay competitive if you really aren't sold on what Drew Lock's selling you here. So.
But we also seen Geno Smith last season as a starter in real games and struggle big time. So you already kind of know what you're getting in Geno. Yeah, there's familiarity. That's why he's back there. But Drew Lock, if you ask Pete Carroll who's winning the race, Pete Carroll will tell you they're both number ones.
Yeah, I love them both.
Good answer. And then if you add Sam Darnold, all three of them are number ones. So we'll see how that all shakes out.
Yeah, that's intriguing though.
But that makes sense. It makes a lot of sense. And then they could cut Geno.
Maybe move one of those guys. Maybe if they really aren't sold
Who's
on Drew Lock, maybe
Geno?
they swap quarterbacks again. Who knows? And then Drew Lock will pack his bags again. The Chicago Bears, Roquan Smith to Las Vegas Raiders. Joe, your Raiders. He wants out. He said he's unhappy with the organization, the way it's going. So
in this article, just so everybody knows, this was predated before his decision. Now he's going to work, play out his contract for this year. And then maybe they can come to a deal later. But Chicago still hasn't even come close to in negotiation. So that's what kind of led him to request that trade beginning. If he was going to stand firm, and who knows, maybe he could change his mind, said, okay, yeah, you want to trade me where? All right, I'm down. You know what I mean? So still could happen. It's still not out of the neck of the woods just yet, but most likely he won't be traded. If he was, and I'll tell you this right now, I like a couple of the younger linebackers that the Raiders do have that still need further development, and maybe by bringing in a guy who not only is a veteran already, but still young, to come in, he could really plug him into the defense. In Patrick Graham's defense, are you kidding me? This guy's going to go off the charts. So, yeah, I would be 100% down with it, but it would depend on what kind of compensation is going to be asked for. I wouldn't give up a first. I wouldn't even give up a second. I would be willing to give up a third and later, or maybe a combination of like maybe a fifth or fourth and sixth or something like that to get the deal done. But I don't want to give any of my higher picks away so easily. So
yeah, I could imagine that though. I mean, imagine you had Roquan Smith, you have Chandler Jones, Max Crosby. I mean, holy moly!
And the Patrick Graham's defense, very well.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And that what the Giants used to have is. They sometimes it's hybrid, right? So like sometimes like depending on the team he's facing, it could be 4 down linemen. Sometimes it could be 3 and then 4 linebackers. Sometimes it's a 4-2-5. So it changes week to week, play to play. You know that very well. Now if you insert Roquan, the sky's the limit, right? I mean for that defense to be interchangeable like that.
Yeah, you would hope. Mitchell Dixon is in the house with us.
What up, Mitch?
He's actually disagreeing with what Nathaniel said earlier on about the Cardinals making the playoffs, not making it. So he said they're wrong, man. So
you're wrong, man. You're wrong. According to Mitch.
Yeah, according to Mitch. So there you go. And Joe had some information about that. He's going to tell later on.
Maybe.
But maybe.
If I feel
like you guys are lucky, you might get it out of him.
What else? We got another one?
All right. Oh, yeah. We have 32 of these things. So here you see Bates, even though, again, he's under the franchise tag. Now he's come back because, again, what happens? Again, they don't sign the thing, but he's technically out there, so he's not getting paid. So
he's getting paid now.
Now he is.
Yeah, now
he is. That's what it is. You squeeze
he's
him
like,
out
all
a
right,
little bit.
fine.
He's like, all right, I'm showing up.
I'll make money. Yeah, whatever.
So Jesse Bates the third there, the Philadelphia Eagles. How scary would that be now, even with the Eagles?
This is intriguing to me because I'm at a loss for why is he even being considered being available? Why is this Bengals? What are you doing? Like, do you honestly think you have a guy that can just come in and replace him? And at his level, we're better? I think not. So I'm really confused why the Bengals are kind of dragging their feet in contract negotiations with him. Is it to see if he stays healthy? No. He's just he's a Pro Bowl caliber safety. You lock those guys up when you can. So I'm still confused on, or maybe it's just as simple as, listen, we spent a lot of money this year and we don't want the money to fall on this year. Next year's books, we'll be a little bit more open to giving you an extension. Yeah. So maybe that's what it is.
We've even talked about previous years, like a couple years ago, when the Bengals are one of the cheapest organizations, though, too. So I mean,
it wasn't
maybe we've forgotten
ago.
About this because again, in a league now where we just brought this up even the last couple of weeks because a lot of these deals are trying to just like getting done. Yeah. We just saw Derwin James got another one. You know what I mean? And everybody's kind of like, oh, I want my money. And you're like, okay, what do you want? Okay, highest paid now. There you go.
Money dries up quick.
And then boom. And now these guys have been sitting out here with this whole thing. They're
being. I would say this. If anything, that makes the most sense is because financially, this isn't the year to sign him to a longer term deal and a bigger term deal because now the negotiations are going to turn next. As we get closer to next offseason, Derwin James he's the highest paid safety. I want to be paid like him. Well, can they financially get there? Because you look at all the money they spent this year in upgrading that whole offensive line. That took a lot of money. So that together with a lot of the other younger players that are going to be due for newer deals, maybe 2 or 3 years down the road, your quarterback, Joe Burrow and everything, like now that you're trying to keep them there, you want to keep everybody there as much as possible. But you reach a point where we just can't reach what you want.
All right, next up for the Cleveland Browns, they've got Kareem Hunt getting traded to the Kansas City Chiefs. I don't see that happening.
You're calling bogus on this.
Yeah, I think that one's wrong on that one.
Hit everything.
Hashtag know it all.
No, we don't want that one.
Just hit it all.
There you go.
But anyway, no, I wanted that one. The hashtag know-it-alls. We don't hit it enough. But anyway, this doesn't make any sense at all. Not at all. Listen, not to say that the Chiefs wouldn't be interested, but they just signed Ronald Jones the second, and he's going to come into that backup role or rotational role that they're going to utilize. And he's young. He's still in his prime. He still is a decent back. He didn't get a lot of opportunity down in Tampa because of Leonard Fournette's emergence, but maybe he can do that with the Chiefs. And now for the Chiefs to be like, oh, we still want to do more trades. We're going to give up more draft capital to get another running back that we don't need. So I kind of disagree with this trade scenario. It could be to another team. Because we already know that Kareem Hunt has expressed interest in a trade to another team to potentially start or be more of a prominent back for another team. But at this point, it might be like he just plays out his year and then maybe test free agency later.
Yeah, it could be at this point for him. It's still got to be that 1-2 punch possibly with the way some of these backfields are. There's a few other teams that could maybe use them.
Bearing an injury.
Yeah, I mean, because you look at the Chiefs, too. They've got Clyde Edwards-Helaire there still, which, gets injured every now and then, and Jerick McKinnon still, too.
There's even been talks about Clyde Edwards-Helaire being moved on from the Chiefs.
Oh, wow. So I mean, that would be a bigger blockbuster.
Because here's the thing now. Ronald Jones may be pushing him so much that they're like, hey, we like what this kid has, and they have Jarek McKinnon there, who played a very prominent role last year. With Edwards-Helaire not being in the lineup that much. So, what's to say that Ronald Jones and McKinnon are your rotational guys, and they move on from Edwards-Helaire, but whether that be a trade or if they don't want to pay the newer contract that he's going to be expecting, get rid of the money there.
Dallas Cowboys, Tristan Hill, the D tackle to Jacksonville Jaguars.
Sure, we'll just go with that. I mean, honestly, the Jaguars, like their D tackle rotation is something to be desired. I think any kind of extra help that they can kind of rotate those D tackles more often, any untapped potential is welcome in Jacksonville. I just think that's a likely move, but that would only be anywhere from like 6th or 7th round pick you would get in that trade. Not very high value.
All right, it says Denver Broncos edge Malik Reed to the Arizona Cardinals.
That's a definite possibility.
Yeah, that sounds decent there too.
The real question is, do the Broncos want to move on from Malik Reed? I will say this: the Broncos have done a tremendous job on scouting and evaluating linebackers, and converting them maybe just to pure pass rushers. Because you look at Shaq Barrett, who now is in Tampa Bay. He came from the Broncos. You never heard of the guy, and then all of a sudden he had a freaking double-digit sack season, and they're like, who's this guy? Where did he come from? And it was all because of their scouting department and how well they've been able to find pass rushers / linebackers. And here's Malik Reed, another guy who has untapped potential, who, if the Broncos are willing to trade him, then I would think a lot of teams that were interested would just be all over it.
Nathaniel says, how about Kareem to Seattle? And I was thinking that's one of the teams I was thinking. They have a few different backs back there, but I think he would mix well with them. Again, if he wants to be that kind of veteran that could still chunk out some yards while you sprinkle in some of the other guys.
I don't think Seattle is a destination for Kareem Hunt at all, because they just invested a higher draft pick for.
That's the one thing.
I'm going to butcher his name. I can't remember his first name. Kenneth Walker III.
Walker. Yep.
And I think he's going to be the bell cow, much like, not exactly, but a little similar to Marshawn Lynch. Like he's a guy that can break tackles, can make you miss. He can do a lot of things extremely well and block and all that. And Rashad Penny is that kind of change of pace back that they like to utilize, a receiving type of back that they could throw to out of the backfield. So they could do both. With either running back, but I feel like they're super confident and super comfortable with the two backs that they have to run that offense. So to bring in another guy like Kareem Hunt, who's going to try to demand a lot of reps, and it depends on what you have to give up to get him and take on his contract altogether. So I don't see that as a marriage that's going to happen, but possibly to another team that is in need of maybe a rotational back that's going to be heavily used. Or I mean, at this point, like if you could get Kareem Hunt to be your feature back, that'd be great.
Yeah. Back to the Broncos. The only thing that worries me with too, is even getting rid of some of your edge rushers, is the fact that Randy Gregory could be there half the time. He gets injured or something like that. But then also Bradley Chubb too getting injured possibly. So then you're gonna. Need
there's always that possibility, right? But that's the thing is, I give them credit because even behind Malik Reed, if they were to do it, they probably have a guy that they like as well if they're gonna make that move.
Absolutely. All right, moving on to the Detroit Lions. Michael Brockers to the Los Angeles Rams.
Oh, back to
this shows these guys going back home.
On.
It seems like, dude. It's like. Coming back, it's like, you know why this works or fits because he used to play there. That makes sense. What's he gonna do? He's gonna jump back over there and try and get another ring with these guys. What's the point? What did the Rams get out of this?
Not much.
Well,
they get Brockers, which is a good thing.
Yeah, they get Brockers, I guess. But Detroit Lions, what are they looking for? I mean, the picks are probably going to be
Detroit Lions
further back. So, what do you want out of it?
They're just not doing this. They're just not doing this trade scenario because Michael Brockers was one of their better defensive linemen last year. I mean, they got him in part of that trade, with Stafford and all that. And why would you remove a good player that is one of your better players on defense to have to replace him? Like, it doesn't make sense. So that trade to me doesn't make any sense. And for him to go back to Rams, why would the Rams have to give up more whatever it is
to get a guy that
to
they
get him
kinda,
that they
didn't
had
want before? Yeah.
It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, how about the Green Bay Packers? Jordan Love to the Colts. What the hell are they doing on these?
What are these suggestions?
Like, why? Why would they do that? Like, they fell in love with him. Now they don't like him, and like they really trust in Aaron Rodgers is just going to lock it in there and play there forever now. So they're like, Jordan Love, just move him on then. And screw it.
I get the angle that they're going with this. Is they're like, oh well, Matt Ryan's not going to last forever. Maybe they get Jordan Love in early and kind of groom him like the Packers did. But listen. Have you been paying attention to him playing?
Thanks for the treat, stupid.
I mean, Jordan Love is not the answer to a starting quarterback, even in the future. We've seen him play. He's been with the Green Bay Packers for quite some time now. And if he was the future, Rodgers wouldn't have been given a $50 million a year contract. So they would have had a little bit more confidence in that. They were desperate to get Rodgers back. So
right.
This doesn't make sense to me for anybody unless you want to bring him in as purely just a backup.
It's the backup again, though, but why even go and do that? You could find a backup probably in the
draft
next draft. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it didn't make a lot of sense for a team that's been also doing the trade for a quarterback for the last 3 years.
Yeah.
4 years maybe? Because again, when it started, when they ended up getting Phillip Rivers, and then, then they got, Carson Wentz, and now they're back on to now Matt Ryan. So ever since Andrew Luck, they've been struggling for a guy. So
what's going on, Derek?
Derek's in the
Welcome
house
to
with
the
us
show,
tonight.
brother. 49ers fan. He's letting you all know.
Boom. There you go. 49ers. A lot of people like the 49ers this year. You know what I mean? A lot of people bragging that they said they were the best team in the
Derek,
NFC last
I got a question for you. How do you like Trey Lance? I want to ask a Niners fan in here.
All right.
Let me give me your honest opinion.
In the meantime, Nathaniel says, I understand the Jordan Love deal, but I don't agree with it.
Exactly.
I mean, that's like,
Yes.
I don't get it either. I mean,
No.
I understand, maybe try and get it.
It doesn't make some of these ideas. They just clearly don't make any sense.
Absolutely, but hey, that's why we're having conversations about them.
Listen,
I guess.
at least we're having a conversation over these things and not about who wears the best cleats.
Right. Yeah, here we go. Offensive lineman for the Houston Texans, Max Sharping, to the Carolina Panthers.
I mean, to me, this would be
Feel
more of
that
a
offensive line, but-
a depth trade type of thing, And honestly, they drafted Kenyon Green, and they have AJ Cann opposite him. So maybe they've already made that decision. We're like, okay, well, these guys definitely won the job, and this guy was pushing for the job, but maybe we can get some draft capital out of this and make this move. But this is the other thing. I'm just saying. Depth is a big deal. So if one of those guys happen to go down with an injury, especially a significant one, you're going to need your depth to step up. And,
right.
I would advise not to do this.
Yeah, and the thing is, this only makes sense again is if he's getting beat out for the starting job, so he's sitting there and he's very cheap still, at 26 years old. So again, get a late pick for him, and then there you go. That could help for depth for the Panthers. Here we go. Next, the Indianapolis Colts. See, they've got the Colts now. Now it's their turn. It's not going to be Jordan Love, the trade, right? It's going to be. But here we go. They're going to do a double-decker here, Joe. This is insane. It's going to be the Indianapolis Colts. They're trading the Green Bay Packers for Jordan Love, and they're going to then trade quarterback Sam Ehlinger to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Boom. Drop the mic moment right there.
Yeah, that's great.
Because that's what the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are going to need right now, right after Tom Brady exits.
Sam Ehlinger, here's the thing about him. I loved him coming out of college, but I knew he had a lot of development that still needed to take place. He was a late pick, and rightfully so, but I think he has potential to be a starter at some point. The problem is I don't think Colts will trade him because I think they really do like him. He's already shown flashes in preseason in the games and so forth. So I don't think the trade happens because I think they're going to try to groom him to maybe be the successor after Ryan leaves.
All right,
Derek,
your buddy Derek's
what's
coming.
Derek Scott?
Here you go. Say it, Joe. Here we
Says,
go.
I think the kid is going to do great things. So that being said, with Trey Lance and with Kyle behind him, the kid I think is special. And here's the interesting thing is Trey Lance coming out of college. We all knew he needed further development. We all knew he needed mechanical help and all that. And he's been working with Kyle Shanahan, which is great because this is a quarterback that he can mold into his offense, which is perfect. It's perfect for Trey Lance because he's a mobile quarterback that has a strong arm that can kind of really flourish in this offense. So, but again, it all comes down to how far has he developed at this point? Are they or aren't they going to move on from Jimmy G? Because we have yet to hear if we've heard him, being given permission to seek a trade, but nothing has transpired yet. So if he ends up staying, if he ends up not getting traded, are you continuing with Trey Lance, or are you going to give Jimmy G because he's that veteran presence? That's going to be a tricky scenario altogether. But Trey Lance,
that's a touchy
he does
situation
fit
altogether, though.
Kyle Shanahan's offense to a T. It's just how much better is he going to be other than Jimmy Graham?
Derek says, I agree. I think
he most likely will be healthier.
He
most likely will be healthier.
Oh, yeah?
So we'll give Trey Lance that. He'll probably stay healthy.
There you go. He says they're going to keep Jimmy after all that.
Wow.
Well, yeah, if there's no real suitors, too. I mean, if you're not finding anybody right now, again, what are they shopping for, though? What are they trying to get for him? I mean.
Okay, he thinks Jimmy is going to be the backup.
Oh, boom.
Second string.
That would be
But that's an expensive backup.
It is.
That's all I'm saying. Mm-hmm. 21 mil. Woo.
Yep. All right, but I tell you, if that Tom Brady news drops,
I tell you, Jimmy G to Tampa.
Jimmy G to Tampa, right there, it's going to happen.
It's got to happen. Listen, he was one of those teams that we did discuss. So if Brady wasn't going to be around, it could be a potential move. We're just saying.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
Just saying.
All right, here we go.
But thanks, Derek, for the comments.
Yeah,
thanks, buddy.
Absolutely. Keep it rolling. Jacksonville Jaguars, Laviska Shenault to the Houston Texans.
This is a guy in Jacksonville with the new regime. They got no ties to Laviska Shenault at all. They didn't draft him. Even though he's young in his prime, he has been hampered by injuries early in his career. So since there's no ties and listen, they've already been talking about a potential trade for him, trading him away. So it's already on the table. And if a team is interested in adding a very young untapped potential type of receiver, why not, right? Much like Andy Isabella. He's another guy that either could be moved, or if teams hold out and they end up cutting him, you might be able to just sign him yourself.
That's the thing, too, is, again, they showed you automatically what they thought when they went out and got a Christian Kirk and Zay Jones, and they paid Christian Kirk what they thought they should pay him. And you had Laviska Shenault there. So, again, I could see him fitting in nicely with Brandon Cooks over there for the Houston Texans to help them along because, again, God knows they need help over there on that part. So that sounds good to me. Again, and any other team if he becomes available.
I'm sorry. I just saw the next one.
I know the next one. They got a lot of moves between these guys. They got the Chiefs just they're going to grab Kareem Hunt. All right. They got the Kansas City Chiefs trading Ronald Jones, who Joe was just talking about that, who was actually performing fairly well for them, to the Saints now. They got the Chiefs. Ronald Jones going to the Saints now, Joe. What? Are they afraid this is because of the Alvin Kamara thing that he's not going to be able to be there? Because you still got Mark Ingram there. That's again back with them. So
Mark is long in the tooth.
Yeah, I know. Well, I mean, is this what they're thinking? That maybe they still would pick up running back in a trade just in case Alvin Kamara finding out what happens with his suspension or something like that.
I mean,
how long he might
that's
not
definitely
be
got to be part of it. But the other part of it too is Mark Ingram isn't the healthiest running back. He has been known to get hurt. Especially with the Ravens where he was, and now he's back with the Saints. He's kind of been moving around late in his career, and he gets nicked up a lot. He's a very physical back. He doesn't bow down to anybody. But maybe they are going to look for maybe some additional, running backs for that as just insurance, and guys that they maybe could rotate, maybe a three-headed monster rotation. Kamara, you already know he's one of the more elite type of backs in the league and what he does. But at the same time, suspension, all that's going to come into play. And he, again, has been nicked up and banged up too. So it's like, why not bring in a guy who's young, has tons of potential, starting potential maybe, and could be in that rotation to kind of alleviate a lot of the stress of playing that running back position.
Mm-hmm. Derek gets back to you here. He says, yeah, but if Trey can't do it, Jimmy G can get plugged right in right afterwards. So
it's true, but usually,
could, but I mean, if that happens,
it's a tricky situation because now that they've already decided to move on and play, we knew this day was coming. You know what I mean? It's not a secret that Trey Lance was going to eventually take over for Jimmy. However, I think the decision to, if you were to keep Jimmy and then you've already announced that Trey is starting, that this could be a very kind of not a very smooth transition. You know, Jimmy's going to want to play. He's going to want to start for somebody. He's not going to want to sit behind him. Yeah. I mean, if I'm Jimmy, collect that 21 mil, collect that money and sit back behind him. But at the same time, it's like Jimmy does want to, he's not a young spring chicken anymore. You know, he is starting to age a little bit. He's going to want to get onto a roster as quick as possible and be the starter once again.
Absolutely.
So we'll see how it all flies, but I don't know.
Nathaniel says the team I think is underrated and I could see as a potential NFC Championship contender is the Minnesota Vikings.
Interesting.
That is interesting.
Very interesting.
We shall see.
We shall talk about it soon.
Pretty soon. We're getting to it. Absolutely. Here, let's get back to these guys here. So who do we got next? We just laughed that last one off.
Jesus
Christ.
We're
at the Vegas Raiders now. Darren Waller to the Green Bay Packers, man.
Most ridiculous thing I've ever seen.
Are you kidding me right now?
Most ridiculous thing ever.
Why?
Why? Raiders right now are in contract talks with Darren Waller to lock him up long term. What? What?
Congratulations. You played yourself.
Come on, guys.
Wow.
Like, listen, I could understand.
It sounds like a dream for the Packers. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you take Devontae from us. That's it. We're trading for Darren Waller.
Yeah, and it's going to happen. Let's just do it. We got a great relationship with each other. Yeah.
That's right.
I don't see that happening.
Not with Josh McDaniels in town. He likes his offensive weapons. You know what I mean? I don't see Darren Waller being traded away. Whatever. I could see a Waller trade if contract talks were just blown up and the two sides were so far divided that there's no turning back. But other than that happening, I just can't.
All right, here the Chargers, Los Angeles Chargers, we've got D-tackle Jerry Tillery to the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah, this is interesting too because you hear at a Chargers camp that Tillery, who was the starting D-tackle, they have somebody that could replace him is almost similar to him and is getting close to outplaying him in preseason. So because of that kind of closeness that the D tackles have in the rotation, Tillery could be a commodity that a lot of teams are going to need. He's a former first-round pick out of the 2019 draft, and Tillery I actually really loved. I believe he was at a Notre Dame, I want to say, but Tillery was in college football was seen as one of these like pass rushing type of D tackles that really get after it, and I liked him. I was brokenhearted when I saw him go to the Chargers, but I think he still has really good potential. 25 years old. I mean, what's not to like? A potential D tackle like that, bring him right in. So yeah, I could see this move actually happening, and if it was Cleveland, it's perfect.
Yeah,
and I mean they're in need of a
nice
D tackle, and I think that would fit perfectly with their defense.
Absolutely. All right, next up we got the Los Angeles Rams and
here we go.
Safety.
Here we go.
Taylor Rapp
to the Bengals.
To the Bengals. Yeah.
Rams are trading
Again,
Taylor
is
Rapp.
this because they're seeing that maybe they why would they walk
doesn't make
from
sense.
Bates though and then go to Rapp even too or something? Is that what they're thinking? Like in this,
No,
again, there's
it doesn't make
scenarios
any
when they
sense.
trade.
Taylor Rapp has been a really good young safety for
I
them,
know.
and has come on strong.
I
Why
don't
would
know
they
what they're
trade him away unless they don't think that they could afford his $2 million salary? You know what I mean? So I mean, I don't understand this. He's still super young, still in his prime. You know, I think the world of this kid. I think the Rams feel the same way. They're not going to trade him away. And to trade him to the Bengals, why? Because maybe the Bengals make a move and they trade Simmons away before week 8.
I don't know.
It could Simmons being traded could happen. It could happen before week 8. That makes sense if they can't agree to a contract or not even come close. But Taylor Rapp, a young, in his prime type of safety, being just dealt away from a championship team, nah, I don't see it. They don't get rid of players; they add them.
Yeah, absolutely right. Miami Dolphins, Preston Williams to the Cleveland Browns.
And this is a guy that's being pushed out of that receiving lineup. So, I mean, they pull off the big trade for Tyreek Hill. Now you're pairing it up with the draft pick. I'm going blank. Damn it.
But you've got Jalen Waddle
forgot his
there.
name.
You've got
Jalen Waddle,
Cedric
that's who it was.
Wilson they brought in too as well.
Jalen
Too. So,
Waddle.
I mean, they started to load up.
Cedric
that,
Wilson, very
you know.
underrated talent from the Cowboys, who I think is going to do wonders for the Dolphins. So
Yeah.
right there, you have 3 receivers basically replacing.
Yeah, they've kind of done it.
the
too.
guys. Like they already traded Devontae Parker to the Patriots, and Preston Williams looked like he might be on his way out via trade, but more likely a cut is what I'm going to predict.
Wow.
I think he's going to
There you
end
go.
up getting cut
Boom.
because here's the thing:
Yeah.
unless you're really worried about maybe a team signing him before you get to, you don't do a trade.
Right.
You just wait for him to become available and then you sign him. So I kind of expect he doesn't have a ton of teams knocking down his door.
Next, they've got the Minnesota Vikings and safety Harrison Smith to the Miami Dolphins.
This could happen. This really is a likely scenario. Look at we've seen the Vikings and how Harrison Smith and them disagreed on the amount of money that he was looking for as a safety and everything to be re-signed. This is definitely kind of like a salary cap move, if you will, if they were to pull off a trade and trade him to the Dolphins.
Right.
I think it's a move that maybe the Dolphins want to do because it's going to add some veteran leadership on the back end of that defensive back situation, and I think it would be a good move for the Dolphins short term. He is 33
Right.
years old.
Yeah.
But if you have an upgrade that you want to add, why not do it? And if the Dolphins are truly convinced that they are going to make a run for this division, don't laugh, guys. Don't laugh, because I know it's a new regime, a lot of new players, but we've seen worst to first a lot of times, and it almost happens every year with some team that we don't expect. The Dolphins might get their act together, and it could be in this division where it's kind of up for grabs. The Jets, Zach Wilson, can he remain healthy when he does come back? We've already seen Mekhi Becton go down. You look at the Patriots; they don't even know who their offensive coordinator is going to be yet, and a lot of big time questions in that division, except for the Bills, of course.
And you also remember that they drafted Lewis Seen too in the draft, the Vikings. So you would think that they're ready to just maybe move on from Smith too.
Right.
Because again, bring him right in. If the guy's doing well, just have him plug right in. So all right, next up we got the New England Patriots. Nelson Aguilar to the Arizona Cardinals.
No, this doesn't make any sense.
doesn't make
If you're
sense
going to
to
get
me
rid
either.
of
It's like,
Andy,
dude,
is it? Listen, guys, can the guys that did the article scroll back to the first one about trading Andy Isabella away?
By the way, again, this is Bleacher Report. That's why we wrote it on there too.
Why
Bleacher Report did this one.
why would you now trade for another receiver? I don't see this. And Nelson Aguilar and the Patriots, they've kind of agreed to just sit pat, and Aguilar's gonna play out his contract, and that's that. So
And that's that. Move on. Yeah, again,
We're
for me,
moving
it
on
doesn't
from
make
that
a whole
one.
lot of sense too. They just brought him in not too long ago. It's not like going to kill him. They just have to get rid of this
my
guy.
boy Nick Van
Nick
Nett,
Vanette for the
Like
for
this
the
guy.
Saints to the Houston Texans.
I say freaking do it.
Do it.
Trade
Make it
Nick Van Nett to the Texans. That gives them another under the radar type of tight end weapon. Why not? Let it happen. Low round pick, make it happen. Cheap, and he can do the job.
All right, here we go. New York Giants. Darius Slayton to the Indianapolis Colts.
What my only question is if anybody's paid attention to Darius Slayton, why would you trade for him?
No.
Why?
You can just release him.
I mean,
They're just going to probably
He
end
might-
up releasing him.
yeah,
But-
listen, besides that 1 year where he kind of like blew up on the scene, he forgot how to catch. Like, I don't know what's going on with the guy, if he has like, something going on outside of football or whatever, but he needs to get his head on straight.
Oh, yeah. He went from being, wow, this is a nice pick
Yep.
late on in the draft, like
Nice
a 6th
addition.
round or whatever. Like, wow, they found something here. And then now he can't do anything with it with a wide receiving core that is just riddled with injuries, where he has
Yeah.
every opportunity to step up and be that guy,
Right.
sort of like that Victor Cruz kind of jumped in and slid into
Right.
a
Yep,
spot.
exactly.
This has failed miserably in this whole thing, to where it's sad. It's sad to be a Giants fan that they're super excited that Sterling Shepard is back on the field today, at practice. Like, whoa, Shep's back. Like, okay, yeah, for a minute. And then he'll be injured again. We'll see.
At least he's a very complete receiver when he's healthy.
Though. Yeah, right. So there you go. But
He can catch.
I'm with you too. I mean, I don't see that. You could probably get him after he's cut.
Oh,
or
my
something
God.
Like that. But
Here
here we
we
go.
go.
The New York Jets here. Denzel Mims to the Dallas Cowboys. Again, I don't know.
No.
Why would they do that? Because I think
No.
the Jets, one thing they could really use still is just keeping their wide receivers there. I would keep as many weapons as you can here for Zach Wilson too. So I mean, Denzel Mims didn't do bad when he was out there and playing for them. So
No, and this is a guy that definitely needed more development after he got drafted and stuff. This first year was kind of just a write-off. Like he never really played.
I don't see the Cowboys even making a trade for a guy like this though either. Usually, if they're going to go trade for a guy, even too, you saw it was a thing like Amari Cooper. We need this guy's going to get us past the first game of the playoffs. He's going to do that, and that's what they usually do.
Or a major
let's go
upgrade,
get Denzel Mims.
Yeah, this is a guy that still needs development. I feel like the Jets still like him. I know that they've tinkered with the idea of possibly trading him in the past, but. Again, I mean, when you invest that high of a draft pick on a player, you probably shouldn't give up on him that quickly. Let's see what he can do this year. Maybe he can make a few more plays than he did in last season.
All right, moving right along, we've got the Philadelphia Eagles and Jalen Rieger now to the Denver Broncos is the trade they're proposing here. That has to happen in 2022.
I just think that, because he's only 23 years old, Jalen Rieger hasn't been the guy that the Eagles thought he was going to become. You know what I mean? They drafted him.
A lot of people questioned it when they drafted him.
They drafted him high. He has a lot of potential, but a guy that hasn't really shown up in terms of getting open. He has speed and everything, but is kind of lackluster in getting open and holding and catching the ball. Like he's had his fair share of drops too. So he's got a lot of work still ahead of him. And I know he's still playing to stay on the roster, but man, a player that young who still has talent, it's tough to give up on a guy like that. So I don't expect the Eagles to move on from him because they did trade away one of their other guys, like Arcega-Whiteside, who was a former draft pick, and they moved on from him. I don't think they're going to move on from two receivers this year. So I really think that Rieger's going to stay pat with Philly.
Yeah, and I mean, from the Broncos, with Tim Patrick going down with the ACL tear in training camp, I think there obviously could look for a wide receiver, but I mean there could be even better ones out there at this point, or just something else.
You look at so you look at guys like that might potentially get cut, like a Preston Williams. Maybe they pick up Preston Williams if he gets cut from the Dolphins and what have you. So there's going to be other potential receivers that they're going to bring in. I feel like that's why a lot of these teams are going to wait till after cut day, see what kind of names get cut, see what kind of talent gets cut, and then you're going to see some signings and cuts happening like crazy.
Nathaniel's out here. He says, here's an idea. Denzel Mims, low pick to the 49ers for Jimmy G.
No.
So, again...
Unless the only way you would do that trade is if Zach Wilson was definitely out for the year.
Right.
Which he's not.
Right. Yeah. Like if he's definitely if he's not the guy, or if he's definitely injured, not going to do it. And if you have something to win though, too. For me, again, I'm always looking at that the glass. Is it half full? Is it half empty? Like, am I bringing in a Jimmy G? What's my purpose? Because if you do that just to have him be the guy until Zach Wilson might be ready, well, you've already kind of put Zach Wilson in the fire a little bit. You're just going to stunt his growth, I think, by putting him behind again. And if you're going out and getting a Jimmy G, you're not exactly trying to make a playoff push, and I don't think the Jets are prepared to do that. So for me, I'm not really. I don't understand the angle of it all.
I mean, and here's the other thing too.
Only the thing that he probably pacing together. Right. He's the 49ers, type of offense.
Definitely. Like no, I get it. It's kind of a hard deal to do because Denzel Mims does not have value. He really doesn't. He hasn't proven anything as a young player, and then to give up basically 2 low picks is what you're basically getting at. For Jimmy G, a quarterback. Quarterbacks tend to drive up the value a little bit more in terms of trades. So I don't think that would be even a trade that Niners fans or the organization would even consider.
All right, he goes, I would pull the Jalen Rieger trade if Broncos use him as depth. Well, I mean, that's what they're would be looking for is another, at least a wide receiver 3. Because again, losing Patrick, I mean that you would want somebody else in there too to help him out even a little bit. I mean, you got Cortland Sutton, you've got Jerry Jeudy. Again, but Judy's trying to bounce back after injuries and stuff like that too. So
he stayed fairly healthy last year, and the one that's bouncing back is Cortland. He had that ACL tear, and now he's coming back, and he's no spring chicken either. Like he's still kind of on the younger side, but again, a guy that's coming right back from ACL injury. So maybe that's a potential thing that they do pull the trigger maybe, and they grab Rieger, and at least for insurance purposes, whether that be he wins the slot job or not. Because you got Sutton, you got Jerry Jeudy, so that would be the only case. You know what I mean?
All right, we got now the Pittsburgh Steelers, Mason Rudolph to the Detroit Lions. I don't see why would you trade again?
Backup.
I think, again, see ya.
Backup.
I mean, that makes no sense.
I mean, if it's...
I know he's a backup, but why would they even trade for him then? I don't think they would think he's the future right after Jared
No.
Goff. You know what I mean?
No,
So I don't
Goff
see it,
ain't going anywhere.
I don't see it winning for the Lions either, and it doesn't make sense as far as for the
It makes
Steelers.
sense because who's their backup now? That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
if he and the only way this would happen is if they really believe, and we're not saying that the Lions do, but if the Lions believe that Mason Rudolph fits their offensive scheme, you know what I mean, to a point where you could honor that move, like, okay, we'll give you a 7th rounder, and we get a backup quarterback. So in case Goff gets hurt, we have someone that's at least playable, you know what I mean, to get out there and manage the team.
We're at the 49ers now. Here we go. The 49ers,
Here we go.
Jimmy G to the Browns. They're saying Jimmy G to the Browns.
Right.
I really don't see this making sense again. Like
Okay.
I get what they're saying. Like maybe there you go. He's poised. If they think they're ready now, he can win until Deshaun Watson comes back and everything. But then what? I mean, it's not like Jimmy G is going to go there. I'm like, if I perform well, then maybe I can get a starting job somewhere else. He's actually performed decent. I mean, he's taken the team to the Super Bowl, the NFC Championship game. He's been able to win still. I mean, despite, again, what you might think of him as a passer altogether and stuff. So he, altogether, if you look at his career, is pretty decent.
Pretty
you know
successful.
what I mean? Successful.
Yeah.
And that's what I mean. And that should be enough to have a starting job. So to just keep the seat warm for some other guy, I don't know. For me, again, I don't like that. I don't think it makes sense.
Here's the thing. This is there's 2 reasons why I'll tell you why it does make sense. One, they've already expressed interest in trading him. Actually, I'll say 3. 2, Jimmy G going to Cleveland to potentially save their season right now because they were planning on having Deshaun Watson be their guy from week 1 and continue. Now that they know that it's even a bigger suspension for 11 games, that's over half the season. Now they're like, well, what the frig? Are we really gonna roll? You know what I mean, with the backups here and hope that we can sustain a competitive team or a winning team until Deshaun gets back? And when Deshaun does first get back, there's no guarantee that he's gonna have rust built up. You know, he's gonna have to work out the kinks a little bit. So you might need a little bit more grace period than when he comes back in week 12. So for Jimmy G to kind of be moved over, and to be honest too, the Browns have the number 1 amount of cap space in the NFL. It's crazy. So they could easily take on his contract for, even if it's just for this year, and they don't want to re-sign him, have him for this year, and at the very least, when it does come time for Watson to take over, you got one of the better backups in the league, and ride it out, because there's no guarantee that Watson in a limited time fashion at the end of the season is going to stay healthy. Freaky things happen. And let's just to say that the Browns are on their way to either winning the division or at least making the playoffs, and Watson goes down right before the playoffs. At least you got Jimmy G in your arsenal. So that's why I think it kind of makes sense, because I think it gives them a better chance on saving the season for this year.
All right, here we got the Seattle Seahawks edge rusher L.J. Collier to the New York Giants.
I will just say that Seattle would love to trade away L.J. Collier. This is a first-round draft pick, pass rusher that they thought he was going to be amazing. Very quick off the ball and what have you out of college, but he's never amounted to anything. He doesn't create pressure. He doesn't get sacks. Sometimes he's irrelevant in the whole game. And that's just being blocked one-on-one. So, I mean, for them to move on, I mean, the Giants, if they wanted some depth, maybe with them working, maybe with them working on him, maybe he fits their scheme better or something. Who knows?
All right, now Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Scotty Miller to the
guy.
Los Angeles Rams. How about that?
This guy.
A guy that kind of had spots, looked like he might be something like Tom Brady's next Wes Welker or
Julian Edelman type.
And then he's just not really getting a whole lot there.
And Tommy Brady loves him. You know, he really does. He was feeding him the ball whenever he could. But, you know, you think about that year when Antonio Brown was there, it was kind of like it was crowded. You had Chris Godwin until he got hurt. And then Mike Evans, of course. And then Gronk. You can't forget about Gronk was there too. So not too many opportunities for Scotty Tuhati, and who knows? I think that would be a great trade for the Rams. I think because Scotty is still super young, a lot of potential. You bring him in with the current receiving core that you got, Allen Robinson, Cooper Kupp, and then you insert Scotty Miller. Ooh, that could be real nice for them.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's not going to cost a lot.
Yeah. I mean, that sounds good to me, too. All right, Tennessee Titans, tight end Jeff Schwaim to the Eagles.
This could make sense. I mean, because normally they do rock with two tight ends a lot. Like you remember when Zach Ertz and Dallas Goedert were like kind of hand in hand. They would rotate in and out or be on the same field. By adding Jeff Swain, you add another consummate veteran to your lineup with Dallas Goedert. And it kind of plays real well with their offense. So it makes sense to me.
Yeah, and it has been voiced out there that they were looking to possibly get another tight end in the house there with them, too. So, I mean, if they do decide to go for it, that would be a nice 1-2 punch that they have been comfortable with doing. All right, now the Washington Commanders. D-tackle Darren Payne to the Detroit Lions.
What?
Deron Payne. What do you think about that?
Deron Payne? Really?
Known for getting in that scuffle with his teammate, too, on the sidelines. Remember that, man? Oh, my God, blowing up. That was crazy.
Yeah, he was pissed.
Yeah, how about that one, Joe?
Man, I mean, Deron Payne, I'll tell you right now.
Like that.
I'll tell you right now, the Raiders better have gone on the phone then because they need D-tackle help. And that guy right there is a difference maker. Only 25 years old and still in it, like the middle of his prime. Like, this guy is an animal at D-tackle. So I don't think the Commanders would no way, shape, or form trade this guy. But if it ever came to where he was able to be on the trade block, there would be a shit ton of calls to their office.
I think they're just saying right here that, he's going to be hitting the free agent market and that he's going to be asking a decent amount. So instead of losing him to that, they'd rather trade him now to get rid of him for something, to get some kind of compensation instead of getting now bought. I mean, imagine that, though.
You're not even going to try to re-sign him?
Yeah, I know, right? You're not going to try and offer him something?
I think they're going – I don't think that it's that easy where they're just going to be like, we give up. We're going to trade him. But they're definitely going to try to hold on to him and maybe create a somewhat team-friendly or both sides get kind of a friendly deal to try to keep him. But man, if they do decide to move on from him, expect a ton of interest in him.
There you go. So that was Bleacher Reports. One trade that needs to be done by all teams.
That's right.
We tried to make it a timely thing, but I mean, some of them stirred up some good conversations.
There's a lot of a lot of good trade ideas, but a lot of bad ones too.
Some of the ones they should have just canceled out. It's like they came to the Chiefs and they're like, shit, what do we do? All right, whatever.
We're trading for a running back.
Hunt to the Chiefs. How about that? Well, now we're at the Chiefs.
Wait, I got a great idea.
Jones. Then we'll just get rid of him now because we just got Kareem Hunt. What the hell? All right, talk about good decisions, though.
Yes, sir.
I'm talking about our sponsors here, Paul Perry Kitchens, Joe. They're your local company specializing in kitchen design, cabinetry, countertops, renovations, and now they have a new location right down the street from the other one, which offers custom closets and glass doors, too, for your showers. And they do screen repair, too. A screen door that has a hole in it. I know I do. I have to go there and get my screen, set up my screen door, set it all up. They can help you with that, too. So that's pretty amazing. They're right there on Freeman's Bridge Road.
Freeman's Bridge Road.
If you're out there, you want to go to Mohawk Honda, to our other sponsor, check out the car. Yeah, go get your new car, trade in your old one, get your new ride, and drive by PPK right there. You're like, I might need a new walk-in closet, or my wife might now because I just got a car. So I have to make her feel happy and get that walk-in closet. You know what I'm saying? We're there at PPK right there on Freeman's Ridge Road, or go to paulperrykitchens.com, or you can call them at 518-688-0898. Paul Perry Kitchens, thank you so much for the sponsorship.
Thank you.
All right, Joe. This is the time that Nathaniel, I think, has been biding his time waiting for. It's going to be, I'm glad he stuck with us throughout the show, and everybody else, we appreciate it.
Thanks, everybody.
Absolutely. So here we go. We're going to go through our AFC and NFC South divisional picks. And this year we have our fellow hosts from Godzilla Media. That's, if Nathaniel, you didn't know, we are part of a media group from up here in upstate New York called Godzilla Media. And we have a bunch of other podcasts that we're part of too and friends with. And we've got some experts from there. Shows to join us on the picks. So here we go. Let's take a look at them, see what Godzilla Media has right here. And Sean Martin, Brian Cady, and Tom Kozlowski himself, who runs Godzilla Media.
Almost unanimous.
Yeah, almost unanimous. This is what they got here for the NFC South. They've got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers Martin right there with the Saints. They're both the same here. Brian Katie, they were the same last week too, I think, on all their picks. It's like maybe they're colluding with each other. Gaz has been out there a little bit.
I like it.
Oh, the one though last week was
way.
it Sean Martin had the Lions second in the division? That would be impressive. I mean, that's again, you talk about some of those teams that come out that are worst to first. Amazing. And imagine they get behind their coach that much that it just inspires them.
I mean, you think about it last season, how much they got behind their coach last season, and not with, obviously not with the upgraded talent that they have this year, but they were able to really make a lot of close games happen and even have some surprise wins. Which shocked a lot of people in the NFL, including us. I mean, and now that they've upgraded even more on the offensive side of the ball, they still need more tweaking on the defensive side, but they got a little bit better this year. So what's not to think that maybe potentially they could get maybe 500, maybe above 500, just enough to get into second.
Yep. And then, like I said, they both have the Saints there with the Panthers in third with Baker Mayfield now. And they all had the Atlanta Falcons down at the bottom, but I think everybody's just looking at the Falcons, seeing what they're doing. They're rebuilding. Marcus Mariota with the offense first time round here, trying to get it going. And Baker Mayfield, I think some people just aren't sure what's going to go on with that team.
It's going to depend on
Christian
him.
McCaffrey going to stay healthy too? I mean, throughout the season, that's one thing for them.
Who cares?
And it's funny though when you look at Gaz, he goes with the Carolina Panthers first. Maybe does he have reserve about his guy, Jameis Winston over there, who's coming back from an injury too?
Thought he was a big fan of him.
Yeah, I know. He used to be a big fan of him when he was over in Tampa. But
now that he's an enemy.
Now he's
the enemy.
He's like, he's not buying in on this whole thing. So it's kind of funny here. But yeah, he's got the Saints now dropping down without a Sean Payton there at the helm. So let's take a look at your NFC picks here, Joe, and see who you got.
I feel that's why he has the Saints dropping down a little bit. It was because of the changing of the guard, so to speak. But I really like the fact that they have still continuity on the coaching side. Dennis Allen, the former D coordinator, now moves to head coach. He's still going to command the defense as well. And not too much changes in the coaching staff other than Sean Payton. Now, don't get me wrong. Sean Payton, great offensive mind. He was like that guru for them that would kind of make all kinds of creative plays for them. Now, what's going to be interesting, and this is probably why Gaz is a little kind of like, I'm not really sure about this team, is because the offensive changes that are going to incur. There's going to be a different way of play calling that's going to happen. But holy Santa Claus shit. I just have to say, when you look at this roster, though, there's a crap ton of talent up and down the board. They got one of the best offensive lines. That defensive line is really getting after you. Demario Davis that holds it down as a middle linebacker. And the secondary, vastly improved. They bring over Tyrann Mathieu to kind of lock it down as the captain in the back, along with Lattimore, Marshall Lattimore, and all these other defensive players that were already there. This defense got really good in this one off season, and they're better than last year. So you also got to remember too is the former Jet safety came down, is teaming up with Tyrann Mathieu in the backfield as well. So I really love the defense of the Saints. I liked them last year. Now I love them with their additions. And then offensively, Michael Thomas is going to be back. That's a big plus, right? And then they add via draft and free agency. You got Jarvis Landry and Chris Olave. I mean, this could be a real explosive offense, I feel like. So I am actually in more of a favor of the Saints. That's why I got them winning the division, not Tampa, because I was kind of toying with both on but I really got some concern about that center position. And now that it looks like if they don't make an adjustment or an improvement or a signing, that's going to worry me. And that's the reason why I have the Saints above Tampa. I got Tampa right below them because of that scenario. I still love the Buccaneers roster. I like the roster of the Saints a little bit more. And then after that, I have the Panthers. Don't get me wrong. I was super high on the Panthers last year, and they were off to a raging 5-0 start with Sam Darnold as a quarterback until he got injured. Then it just fell apart after that. Baker Mayfield now seated into that position. I really don't know how the offense is going to run with him leading the charge. We've seen him make bad decisions, some good decisions with Cleveland. I don't know where he's going to be trending. So that's why, to me, I think the Panthers are kind of like, they could be second, they could be third. I got them finishing off third. And then last but not least, I have, what did I have in the Falcons, of course, right?
Yeah.
I got the Falcons, but not for the reasons that you might think. I like Marcus Mariota. I think he fits the offense with Arthur Smith, has familiarity with him, and it fits him perfectly. So it's an option type of offense where he could actually do a lot of run plays with himself, hand the ball off, throw the ball on the run. So I feel it fits him well, and I really do love the additions that they've made this offseason via draft the last 2 years. Kyle Pitts and now London. What the frick is his first name? Drake London.
Yeah.
Drake London. They've shown some big-time promise in practices in preseason, but it's all going to come down to where it matters in week 1. But this is a team that's still rebuilding. They still need to improve the offensive line. They still need more receivers. They still need defensive players. So still rebuilding. That's why they finished last.
Nathaniel says he's got the Saints, the Bucks, but that can swap. Panthers and Falcons, however he likes the direction that they're going into as well. So, and again, you look at the Mariota thing; it just made sense. It fits the scheme that he would like to do. They're comfortable with each other. They can do some cool things there with each other. I think they'll tailor the offense around them too. So
you're right, and they just need, and obviously they just need to rebuild that franchise.
Yeah. So when you take a look at my picks now too, I'm going with what Brian and Sean said. I'm going to do that. Just because, again, the way that the offensive weapons that they have and that defense of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers still decent, although, again, the offensive line is struggling. I am not sure what's going to go on, how many weeks is Kamara going to be out, if so or not. Jameis Winston, will he fall into that whole 30 for 30 thing again, give you the touchdowns but give you the turnovers? Seems like they're corrected, but you're not sure. And it just, who knows? But if that Tom Brady thing happens, where again, because we're hearing different things, that could just all come crushing down. And then I might just jumble up, and then I might just say Baker Mayfield gets hot, and Christian McCaffrey stays healthy. Boom! Watch out for those Panthers.
And it could happen. But here's the other thing too about what scared me about the Buccaneers is there's more change than you think on the defensive side. There's going to be some younger players that have to step up. Pierre Paul's no longer there. Now they got their second-year player, Shiroka, who's going to be coming off the edge. Shows a lot of promise, don't get me wrong. But, again, changes don't necessarily mean that you're going to still have the same success. So, and then even in the secondary, it's been jumbled up a little bit. And they're still not sure who's playing nickel corner, and who's playing safety because Jamal Dean is trying out for both spots. And who knows? With any kind of change, you never know how it's going to all end up.
Nathaniel's out here. He's doing all of his picks for him.
There you go, Nathaniel. Let it go.
Yeah, this is what we did last week. The NFC.
We did it last
North
week.
Here. Yeah, he's got the Vikings, like you said, the Packers, the Lions, and then the Bears. Again, Bears at the bottom. He goes, I see the Bears getting the number 1 draft pick overall there too. Wow, interesting. That's between a few different teams. Who
They're
knows?
rebuilding too, so it makes sense.
And then he says the Ravens, the Bengals, the Steelers, and the Browns, and we saw that a lot last week with the picks that were going on with everybody too.
People
a lot of people really high on the Ravens coming back and doing something here, and really dogging the Bengals on this whole thing.
Yeah, a little bit.
It's kind of funny that the Bengals are getting dogged after what was their main weakness that they had last year? It's offensive line. What did they fix this year?
Offensive line.
They still have everybody else and now have a better offensive line. So what's the problem?
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't get it. And meanwhile, Ravens, they've gained some stuff through the draft, which they did pretty well. But again, I think still lacking some of the wide receiver weapons, things like that, to help out Lamar Jackson to keep developing, I think, as a true quarterback, even though you're not going to take away what he does with his legs, and he's special for what he does, and they're going to still run it around that. But I think I'm still skittish about them at times, man. And you saw it last year. And then again, if he gets injured, some of those guys have done it well coming in at spots, but not enough to get you further into the playoffs. You want to talk about trying to trade for a Jimmy G to make sure you get to the playoffs. They might pull the trigger on something like that if they need to, if it comes down to if he's injured.
Crazy thing, too, about the Ravens is, not a lot of people are realizing, too, that their offense really hasn't changed much. It's still an option-heavy run type of offense. And, you can't help but think about like all the defensive opponents that they play. They've been jotting notes down on this offense. They've been jotting on how Lamar Jackson plays, and they've been studying him. And now you're at the point that last season in the second half, Lamar Jackson, he just flat out sucked. I mean, there's no other way to put it. Like he wasn't like, oh well, he was kind of struggling, but still. No, he was throwing a lot of picks and not very many, hardly at all touchdowns. So I mean, that's got to be some kind of a concern going into this year.
He says here that he just really likes the Ravens defense. With the Bengals.
Yeah, I'm right with you, brother. I love the Ravens defense, but if you don't have an offense to put up points, it makes it really tough to win games. And I get the whole thing that defense wins championships, but when you don't really have much of an offense, or if you're struggling on offense, that puts a lot of hours on the football field for the defense, and it tires them out, and then they start falling apart. So hopefully the Ravens can get their offense back on track this year. If so, they're definitely a dangerous team. But I'm not really 100% sure if I'm really with the Ravens. I had them kind of finishing second in mine, and I love the Bengals, man. They really haven't lost much, and they improved every weakness. So I love the Bengals to make a repeat divisional win.
Moving on to the Godzilla Media now. Now we're covering the AFC South, and this is what we got here for those guys. And it is the same across the board. It's unanimous.
Mitch would say you're all wrong. That's what Mitch would say. Mitch would just tell all of you guys that you're all wrong and go suck a hot dog.
Oh, yeah.
That's what he would say.
Nice.
I think something like
Excellent.
that. But anyway. But yes, all right. So we got our guys on media guys.
Like a lot of people again. You figure because you got Matt Ryan there now. It's a whole different thing from what you had with Carson Wentz and stuff. So you got Matt Ryan there. He's probably happy. He's got some good weapons there. You got a good running game. You got the offensive line. You got the defense too on top of it. You got a mix of everything. Nathaniel, there he is on the same exact thing too. He's got it too.
Nathaniel gives his opinions. He's got the Colts number 1, Titans number 2, 3 for the Jaguars, and the Texans finishing last.
Exactly the same. There we go. Everybody's rolling on that.
Yeah. Boom, shakalaka. Everyone's kind of just jumping on that. And it's interesting because I will tell you guys that, Jim, you want to do your picks first?
No.
Okay. I will tell you guys that I had a hard time, to be honest, after evaluating the Texans team. I had a hard time putting them on the bottom. I'm not going to lie. I really like the additions that they've made. Davis Mills, if you watched him when he played, was a pleasant surprise for Houston. I mean, the guy just kind of outplayed his draft selection. I mean, he was amazing for them and won some games for them as a rookie with not a very good offensive line, with only pretty much Brandon Cooks as a weapon because Nico Collins was hurt. And really no tight end to rely on. They were swapping them in left and right. And an inconsistent backfield with no defense. The guy still found a way to win. So now you look at this team and fast forward to this season. I understand there are concerns with Lovie Smith once again being a head coach and what have you. But I think the potential of this team, they've vastly improved that offensive line. The offensive side of the ball is much stronger than last year's team. And then defensively, they made some additions via draft and free agency that it might just be enough to win a little bit more games than the Jaguars, because the Jaguars are kind of on that teetering spot here where new regime, Doug Peterson, don't get me wrong, he's a great coach. I think it's a great spot for him to go to work with Trevor Lawrence. Has a lot of success with other quarterbacks. But the one thing that I kind of worry about the Jags is how quickly they're going to be able to get not only the offensive system down, but mesh together with the other new additions that they have, especially on defense. Defense looks crazy, potentially. But a lot of young guys on that side of the ball. How many mistakes are they going to make with this new regime? But I have the Jaguars still kind of eclipsing the Texans in that lower half of the division. So I have the Texans at the bottom, the Jaguars third, the Titans I have second, and the Colts I'm on top.
There
I got the Colts on top.
Exactly the same. Again, it seems like the trend. Everybody is,
here's the thing. The reason why I know some people are like, oh, no, Tennessee's going to run away with that division. I wouldn't be so sure because they really have a legitimate quarterback now. Like, there was questions with Carson Wentz. Absolutely. I mean, I thought Wentz might have fit better than he did with Frank Reich, because that's where he had success before with the Eagles, but it didn't work. And now they moved to Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan is a really damn good quarterback. And for the first time in his career, one of the best offensive lines to protect him.
Yeah.
And he's got talent galore on the outside. Alec Pierce has a rookie. I love Michael Pittman Jr. I think is going to go off this year. And Jonathan Taylor as your tailback. Are you kidding me? And that defense is very underrated. They are one of the better defenses in this league, and they just got better.
Yeah.
They traded for Yannick Ngakoue to add to that D-line. Holy shit. I mean, I just think, and I'm not trying to downplay Tennessee's team. They're still a solid team. That's why I got them finishing second. But I don't know if they've done enough to stay with the Colts.
Yeah, that's the thing when you look at it. And I think that's why everybody is high on the Colts right now and really picking them for the division. And just because, again, you had a Matt Ryan, you had those other parts on defense, and they were kind of complete before. You were just waiting for that missing piece. Meanwhile, the Titans, surprisingly enough, they were able to win without Derrick Henry last year with the injuries that he had.
Incurred, yeah.
Comes back to the playoffs, and then they fail in that game after they're already the number one seed. So well coached. But again, with the personnel, I think they're starting to wean a little bit on what's going on. You know what I mean? Again, Derrick Henry's been so dominant for so long, stuff like that, but is now, even after that injury, is he going to start breaking down a little bit more? They've had their kind of time. How far are you with Ryan Tannehill again? Because you went and drafted Malik. So there you go.
Boy, did you see my boy in preseason?
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. So
My
when
guy.
are you pulling the trigger on that? And is that enough? Even if they're thinking about it, will this guy push us over the echelon here to take the division or even further in the playoffs? Pull the trigger on it. So that's a whole nother different storyline. So there's a lot of uncertainty with me with these guys. So for me, again, I hate to be that guy, but I'm not really a joiner on this one. I'm just firm in my belief on this whole thing too as well. What's going on? I've called the Titans to actually fail and drop down for the last 3 years. So I might rewrite this time finally. That's all. So, trying to engage again. And the Jaguars, I thought they were going to be last year. It was a debacle too, which we all saw and witnessed. But again, Doug Peterson, it's a step up from what they had last year, and I think he'll do well here. You've got the quarterback already. Just you've got some more wide receivers around you. Kind of overpaid for them, but you got some now, and that defense, like you said, is absolutely amazing. You got that other Josh Allen that's on that team who really performs really well.
Yeah, he plays DN, by the way.
Yeah. So that's going to look pretty cool and scary. And again, Houston, they're at the team where they're not expected to do a whole lot. They have some good personnel. And again, you got to love Davis Mills even too for what he's done. He's done pretty well for him, over there. But it's the Houston Texans where if we ever do even another a segment on a show, even maybe we can even predict or try to guess or try to just figure out who really is the worst franchise of all time. Some people would even say, the way the Cleveland Browns have been losing, the Lions lose, the Jets, the way but I started to think about it ever since even the Texans have been kind of an institution, despite even some of those years that they had J.J. Watt in that defense and stuff with Matt Schaub. But, I mean, what was your bright spot besides Deshaun Watson when he was there? Before that, you had your teams were just terrible to where David Carr didn't even have a real career because he was just a vegetable getting sacked after sack and stuff. And just a debacle. And the way they've been running their organization since McNair and everything with everything that's going on. I mean, and they're coaching and becoming the president of operations,
some of that blame.
The GM, and then going to
Bill O'Brien definitely has to get some of that blame.
So, I mean, I know, but, I mean, they brought him in. So, I mean, I think the Texans are questionably possibly one of the worst organizations maybe of all time.
Very well could be. But, what you think about the success they had when they had Deshaun Watson and DeAndre Hopkins. They had a J.J. Watt, Whitney Merciless.
Well, it was just enough to give you that taste and just to be bad again, though.
I mean, think about Jadeveon Clowney, Brian Cushing. They actually had players then. And they were on their way. And then here comes Bill O'Brien. He goes, hold my beer. I'm going to dismantle this whole team.
Yeah. I'm going to trade away,
peanuts.
Yeah.
Give me peanuts.
DeAndre Hopkins for a pack of Tic Tacs.
And a running back.
Here goes Nathaniel. He's going through his picks. He's got the Raiders, the Chargers, the Chiefs, then the Broncos. How about that?
Interesting.
He's got the Chiefs
He's got the
dropping down
Chiefs
that far.
dropping to third.
He's high on your Raiders, though, which is nice. And then the Chargers sitting pretty right there. He goes, I think they will finish with the same record as the Chiefs. However, I think the Chiefs finish 7th seed and the Broncos 8th. How about that?
Wow.
Imagine
That's
that.
crazy.
Yeah. Who knows? A lot
That's
of people. It's
nuts.
funny. It's because it brings up the fact that you know.
Imagine that.
You know, there's so little to talk about right now. That ESPN, all over ESPN radio now, is like, oh, by the way, ESPN.com dropped the power rankings. So
Who
we have to
gives a
talk about
shit?
the power rankings, Joe.
Fucking
Because
retarded.
power rankings mean everything.
Power rankings are stupid.
Because they haven't even played really yet any meaningful games.
Even
so
when they
we're gonna
play,
rank
the power rankings are
them all,
dumb.
and there's been tons of injuries, but we're gonna be, they're moving up in the power rankings, and it's just debating nonstop. And again, they're like, oh, I think the Chiefs have to be up higher. Oh, the Cowboys are 10th, and it's like, dudes, it is what it is, and we'll see when they start to actually play. But it's cool to hear some of these different opinions, like Nathaniel's here, and that's. It's kind of funny that I was just thinking about Nathaniel the other day that I was like, yo, he's got to join in on the show. I like his takes that he does because it's refreshing. It's a different point of view.
Different,
just like a lot of our other know-it-alls, Mike Tackett and all those guys.
Yes, sir.
And, yeah, imagine that. The Chiefs, I mean, there's people, if they saw that right now, we'd be blowing the hell up right now. They'd be
Nathaniel,
dying to, like, no, absolutely. Raiders, no. They will
Nathaniel,
suck forever.
all I got to do is after you've publicized that, do not go to Kansas City.
Yeah,
Just don't.
All right, so let's run through his quick again. He's got the Rams, the 49ers, the Cardinals, and then the Seahawks. Okay, we can see that. The Bills, Dolphins, Patriots, and then the Jets there. Last week,
like
the
it.
Patriots falling down. And the Eagles, Commanders, Cowboys, and then the Giants. How about that? It's for the NFC
G-Men.
least. Yeah, I could see that one too, man. Absolutely.
could happen.
Absolutely. So there you go. That's if I didn't reveal it, okay, yeah, I think I did. But there you go. There's my picks.
But
It's
you didn't
exactly
do it
the
already.
same as everybody else's. So
Listen.
there you go.
Thank you guys so much for the support. Listen, if you're new to the show, if you've lasted this long, I commend you. I know it's a lot to take in all at once. But if you could do us a favor, if you're new to the show and you haven't done so already, if you know somebody that loves to talk football, likes to engage, listen, we're the most interactive football talk show you'll find. Just go head over to YouTube, search us up, Football on the Know Show, hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell, let you guys know when we go live. Like, share, follow, comment. That's what we love. We love to be interactive. Let's make this happen. And if you don't like YouTube and you only want to stick with Facebook, that's fine.
That's fine,
You can
too.
search us up there and
Cool.
become a member, become a know-it-all as
You're
well.
a friend.
And anywhere you get your podcast.
That's right. Let's do us the audio version.
Anywhere you get your
Video's better.
podcast, listen. And if you want to be more interactive, do what I told you before. Just
Yeah,
go to YouTube.
Just to let you guys know, too, I know Nathaniel won't be able to see us, but tomorrow we're going to be live in Boston Spa at Mohawk Chevrolet to
right.
witness the unveiling of the brand new Corvette, the
sexy.
Chevy Corvette. They're going to have right there in the
Sexy.
showroom. It's going to be a whole lot of awesome.
I'm excited for the
We're
Corvette
gonna do-
revealing.
Yeah,
I
we're going to
can't-
do
I
an
can't
hour
wait.
and a half show there.
It's gonna be awesome.
Anybody that's around the upstate New York area, come check us out. Can stop by, check out the Corvette.
And we'll see
The
if
Corvette
it's-
will be. Check us out.
We
And the
gotta-
Corvette will be there.
We got to get with their boys at Mohawk and ask if we have permission to maybe take a
test drive?
picture
Oh,
of
Yeah, we
the
do
of the
picture.
unveiling.
Yeah.
And maybe we can, be lucky
That'd be
as
nice.
to maybe take it for a joyride.
Hey, hell yeah, let's do it.
be
Sounds
sweet.
good. All right, thanks a lot for
Promise I'll bring it back.
for joining
Promise.
the show. Nathaniel says, "Oh, and I am a Broncos fan, saying that Denver will be last." There
That's
you go.
saying
See, he's
something.
one of those
I will
true
say this.
fans.
Nathaniel is not a biased fan
No,
because we really appreciate that. When you're not biased and you really give your honest opinion about your team, that's what this is all about.
absolutely. Hey, I live it all the time.
Unless you're a Cowboys fan, because if you're a Cowboys fan, every single year you think
no
you're winning
such
the
thing.
Super Bowl.
All right, everybody. Thanks. We'll see you next time. See you tomorrow.
Join us next week from 8 till 10 Wednesday night for more Football on the Know with Jim and Joe.